After a wonderful and fulfilling Thanksgiving holiday, we're ready to kick off the month of December with a savory trip to the Joliet drive-thru. It's BRB's Sundance Pro Series for the Meal Deal 250. It'll be a 4-for-4 advancing out of tonight's BRB bracket brawl as well, and the rest will be sent to the back to clock in and put the fries in the bag. Welcome to Hitstop TV in the virtual Joliet, Illinois. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Murtis and Zachary King, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of the BRB Sundance Pro Series. Tonight's coverage from Chicagoland is brought to you by Sundance Pizza, by the BRB Racing League, and by all series partners. It's been a little while since we've been to this particular racetrack, Zach. In fact, we went to Chicago's street course last season, season number 4. It's actually been since season 3 when Mason Houseman last went to victory lane at this racetrack, Zach. And, you know, with that, everything has changed within the league. I feel like we have gone through some significant changes. Of course, not just the car, but also the main driver base has significantly shifted. We've got a lot of new players in new places. This race, I don't think is going to fit the mold of what we saw in seasons 2 and 3 with Adam Buzzio winning in season 2, Mason House winning in season 3. I think we're going to see something all new tonight.
Yeah, this track is just phenomenal. You get a round, it literally looks like a D because you have the rounded backstretch, but it's going to be completely different. We had a couple roster changes in the background, which was really surprising because I didn't expect to see all the roster changes over an off week, but this is going to be phenomenal. We're going to see a new group, a new class. Who's going to step up and who's going to start taking that step?
We're definitely in for a treat here this evening in the Meal Deal 250. This is a fun little spin on kind of the race sponsorship program that's been done. This is a race technically sponsored by MXWraps.com, so we want to give them a shout out. They are, of course, as well, this season's full pre-race show partner. So a big shout out to Brendan and Zach Maddox who kind of run things over there. But we're going to have some fun with the Meal Deal part of things and run with some jokes, I think, tonight. We've also got some great paint schemes out there to talk about over the course of the night as well. But first, I want to get into the bracket. I mentioned we're going to be having a 4-for-4 that advance. 4 drivers will advance. There's 8 drivers left in the bracket. You can see them lit up on the left side on the ticker with different colors for their matchups. Brown is Jason Bottoms versus Johnny Wood Jr. We'll be talking to Jason here shortly. He's an underdog in that battle. You've also got Wine. That's Adam Buzzio. And I got to think here, who was it? Cole Lewis. And Cole Lewis is the underdog. We'll be talking to him. We've also got Scott Friss and Kyle Klink. That's kind of 2 powerhouse drivers right now head-to-head. And then you have Evan Patinko and Christian Barnes, who are pretty even right now in practice. And I'm going to consider Evan the underdog there, Zach, even though technically Evan was the lower seed in that matchup. I think we know Christian Barnes, after his 3 wins last season, is kind of, no offense to my own driver, Evan, I think the better driver lately. So I'm going to consider Evan the lucky to hear the underdog there. We'll talk to him in a moment as well. But those are your matchups. Keep those in mind because that's going straight into all 3 of our driver interviews, which are going to start here in just a second. Keep those matchups in mind as we bring in our first driver of the night. That is going to be Jason Bottoms. And Jason, straight to the point here. Last time we spoke to you, you were top 10 in points, coming off of a really solid couple of first races. Daytona opening things up really nicely for you. Things have shifted, but you are doing really, really well in this bracket brawl. Why do you think
I think just really taking 1 race at a time here. And I got personally 35 other guys to beat win, so just shift my focus towards that.
And of course, we've talked about a bunch this season. This, as I try to find the right sweet spot here with audio, I'm sorry if I blew anybody's ears out there for a second. This race car has been a complete shift from seasons past. So before I hand things over to Zach King here, how different is this race car for you on these intermediates like we see tonight?
I feel the intermediates are probably a lot more my strong suit with these compared to the Cup car. I felt like a flatter track or a shorter, flatter track really suited me with those, as to where with these I feel the bigger track definitely leaves a lot more maneuverability to it, and just be able to pick guys off and not get stuck.
Jason, you entered tonight's race 22nd in points. Obviously, you're trying to beat Johnny Wood Jr. right now with what is it, 14 minutes left in practice. You are above him in the practice charts. What is it going to take to keep edging your way and try to get into the chase this time?
Honestly, just get some stage points. I feel like I don't perform well in the first half of the race, and if I do, something bad normally happens. But I just need to be able to stay in the race for the whole time and not just try and show up at the end and make up all my points there. Just really capitalize throughout the day.
And of course, Jason, this is kind of punching up for you this evening against Johnny. I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, but have you worked on kind of trying to match their pace? It seems like you're up there in the practice charts tonight, 12th so far to 25. That's a good start. But as far as strategy goes, as far as long run goes, how is that looking for you personally?
I feel like Charlotte, I really found something with being able to keep pace while saving the tires, and I feel like I just have to keep practicing that every week, not get complacent with that, and just go after it and burn them up and just try to plow through the field and just try to slowly build speed and work off that.
Well, Jason, it's good to talk to you now twice here in Season 5, maybe even a third time coming up soon. Keep after it here. It's been a lot of fun to watch you in this bracket brawl. I don't know. I think we might see you go at least to the Final Four here. Who knows?
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we can get this admin box Chevy up there and keep it in the fight.
Tell you what, the race car looks really good. Best of luck here, Jason. That is your number 16 seed in the bracket, going up against the number 9 seed here this evening. So good to talk to Jason again this season, and that is going to take us into points actually, because I have a segue here into our next guest here, Zach. Point standings, we haven't looked at them yet. Here they are, and they're evolving as always. Points gaps are changing, moving around. I think we can pretty much safely consider the top 6 in the chase at the moment. I'd say the top 3 are probably locks. The next 3, if they lost it completely, they can still drop out, I think. But as long as they keep doing what they've been doing to this point, Zach, I think it's safe to say Borbell, Clank, and Wood definitely should make it in. After that, I think it's wide open. Frankly, I think Tim Henderson could drop out. I think Joshua Parent could get in. And those are two guys on complete polar opposites of that cut line right now. And along with that, Evan Patinko is in a pretty good spot with some runs starting to go his way and the way of Whiplash racing in general, with Josh Parent surviving last race at North Wilkesboro to actually have a decent finish. Magnus has been showing a lot of strength. That camp as a whole, those 3 guys especially, have been getting better and better. They're all in attendance here this evening. I think it's worth noting, Evan is in a better spot than he has been. We're talking to him in a second. He's another underdog, I would say, in this bracket brawl. I like his story right now.
Yeah, Evan making the switch over to Whiplash from Redacted last season, you can tell, you can just feel it. Like, when I was talking to him and chatting with him, he just sounds different. He sounds more in a stronger state of mind, I should say. And he's been really, really strong. He's been performing lately. He's up to 16th in points. He made the chase in, I think it was Season 2. But Evan, over there at Whiplash, you guys have got something going on now. Y'all finally got some chemistry going, and y'all are looking pretty solid.
I'm excited to talk to Evan here this evening for the first time on the MX Wraps pre-race show. Let's bring in, I think maybe the second time actually, that we talked to Evan. It feels like the first time. Well, it's the first time in a while at least, Evan, that we're bringing you on. And first time in this bracket battle that we're bringing you in. Car number 81, we've been watching you very closely the last couple of weeks, along with everybody else in this bracket, and you keep, I think, defying odds and moving on. Now, I will say, in my personal bracket, I had you going to the final against your teammate, Josh Parent. He's not in this anymore, but you still are. What's the secret?
No secret, just stay in the race, really. We've had a lot of wrecks the last couple of weeks. Some of my opponents have got caught up in those, but as long as you're on track, you're giving yourself a chance to move on in this bracket.
Evan, 16th in points. Obviously, we've seen you make the chase before. What is it going to take to make the chase this season, and what is it going to mean to you to make the chase with Whiplash Racing?
Really, you gotta be there at the end. You gotta have a chance, even if you're running 15th to 20th all day long. Be there at the end on the lead lap. Have a chance to capitalize on the last lap crash, a green-white checkered. Anything like that can better your finishing position. stage points are important. I want to try and get some stage points, but I don't want to put myself in a bad situation where I could be, taken out in a crash coming to stage end.
And of course, your teammates, both Magnus and Josh, and even Cameron, who's not here tonight, have 100% lived the other side of making it to the end, right? They've been taken out early, bad things have happened, you've lived some of that as well. So what is the key, I think, that you've noticed as the season has gone on to stay alive? Because we talk about as well the Sam Dyers of the world who are able to kind of sit back and just ride around and somehow still be there at the end. Is it something like that? Is it something in between, trying to stay competitive and pull that kind of strategy? I mean, what's going on that front?
Well, Josh and Magnus, they definitely have more raw speed than myself. But I think for me, the biggest thing is don't push in the first stage unless you have the raw speed. So my strategy normally is just kind of feel the car out, feel how everyone's driving. I'm okay, finishing 18th, 25th, whatever it is in stage 1, playing a little bit of, tire strategy, fuel strategy, whatever it is, to put myself in, contention for a top 12, top 10 at the end of the day.
Well, Evan, of course, eyes are on you as kind of, I know you're the higher seed technically in this matchup between you and Christian, but I'm going to say you're the underdog anyway. Best of luck. Hopefully we're talking to you later on.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
That's Evan Patinko, down low Patinko, in what is not quite a home race for him, but it's in his neck of the woods, at least it's in the Midwest. He's from Ohio. This is, of course, a race in Joliet, Illinois, so it's at least closer than a lot of these races this season. Good to talk to Evan here this evening. To our next order of business, though, Zach, I do want to flip over to car specs. And this was kind of, we haven't talked about this every single race this season, but I want to look at it because specifically as it plays into the story of tonight's race. Taking a step back from the bracket for a moment, look at who's on top of the practice chart. I know it's not on the stream right now, but Mason Hausman, first place. He's the most recent winner at this racetrack in this league. There is something that transcends beyond just the car that just seems to work on these intermediates. And maybe it is that the current Cup car is a little bit slower on intermediate, so it's a little more wide open. So a lot of the techniques still work the same. But something clearly is working for Mason Hausman, and a lot of the same players, right? Dustin Stallings is up there, Josh Perrin is up there, we expect him to be up in the top 10 at least in practice, same with Brendan Maddox, and some of these other guys like Stephen Borbell. We expect them to be higher on the practice charts, they are still up there. That said, we also have some surprises. I would say Richard Wolfsford being 5th right now is a slight surprise. Zach Maddox, 7th, I'd say that's a surprise. Coulter Clark is up there in 9th. Maybe this is leveling the playing field, while still... And we saw it at Charlotte a little bit too, Zach. I think the same techniques still apply and still succeed, but it still also gives just a slightly more level playing field where some of these guys can get a little closer to the front, at least in practice. We'll see how it works out in the race.
Yeah, this ARCA car, one thing I have noticed over the last couple of weeks is these cars are much tougher than what the Cup cars were. Obviously last season you hit the wall, you're almost breaking a toe link. But this season, I feel like we've seen people smack the wall, and it's not as bad, not as much damage as would it be in the next gen. So that's one thing I do want to start focusing on is how are these cars able to hold on to all this damage and heat all this stuff that they're getting. But yeah, Mason Hausman has been phenomenal. He's always been phenomenal. He's a back-to-back champion in season 2 and season 3. I expect him to be at the front. He's obviously trying to tie Gavin. I think it's for 14 or 15 wins all time. So obviously it's going to be fun to watch him tonight and see if he can get it. We see him having fun in practice.
By the way, contender, as far as not just in the race and winning this race tonight, but contender for Best in Show coming up after these interviews. This is one to watch right here, Dustin Stallings. But without further ado, we have one more driver to get to tonight and speak with here in pre-race with the MX Wraps pre-race show. And it's going to be a driver we've not yet talked to. I mentioned it earlier. We already know who it's going to be, Cole Lewis. We have never talked to Cole Lewis, as far as I can recall, on this broadcast at all. And we're finally bringing Cole in. And Cole, you are our third underdog of the night. You're punching up a little bit in this bracket brawl, but we have seen you, we've seen Jason, we've seen Evan consistently work on through these rounds, making sure you finish these races, and there is something to be said for that. I think Obviously, I think it's fair to say a lot of these guys have you guys covered in terms of raw speed, but maybe not in terms of racecraft and survivability. So what is your secret to finishing these races when so many others can't?
Hey Andrew, just hang out in the back and kind of let everything unfold and just hope to see the checkered flag at the end of the night.
Well, you beat Tim in round 1 at Charlotte. You beat Carl at North Wilkesboro, was it almost like 2 weeks ago? Now you're facing up against Adam. You're 27th in the points. What is going through your mind, and what is it going to take to try to get a good finish and good run today?
I think I'll just need luck on my side tonight and kind of run around in the draft with everyone else and just see how it plays out.
And I kind of love your story. The fact that you're one of the, well, we had just you as far as Canadian drivers in this series for a while, but now one of 2 Canadians in this series from kind of small town Canada up there. Tell us about yourself. For viewers that don't know anything about Cole Lewis yet, why should we be a fan of Cole Lewis?
Just pull for one of the Canadians. That's all I have to say. If it's not me, pull for Kyle.
Fair enough. Well, Cole, hopefully we're talking to you a lot more later this season, maybe even as a Final 4 or even Final 2 contender in this bracket. One more question. How you feel about Chicago tonight? I know you're a little ways down in the practice order right now, 26th out of 30 that have turned to time, but obviously practice only says so much about how the race is going to go.
The car feels nice, so I think I'll be in it at the end.
There we go. The always metallic orange Tito's 52 car. I love the look there, Cole. Best of luck tonight.
Thanks, Andrew.
Good to talk to Cole Lewis for kind of, I think the first time ever. I don't think we've ever spoken to him, certainly not in pre-race before, Zach. So good to chat with him briefly, even though he is a man of few words, as we heard there. But I love Cole. He's a great guy. As Jordan White hits the top of the speed charts. Hang on. We're gonna take a pre-race show replay. I just got to confirm that was a legit lap. That's insane.
He's got some draft. We know the draft is powerful in these arcade cars. You barely clipped the wall, but I mean, he's obviously getting a pull down the straightaway. Just surprising how the dirty air really doesn't affect him as he goes into 3 and 4. You get to the bottom rather quickly.
Holy cow. I think that was a fully legit lap. Just a lot of draft.
All right. Heck yeah.
Wow.
He told me today, he was like, something's up with this track in this car, and it's just falling into my hands. And I was like, just come home with a clean car.
Well, it's worth, as he shows some power here in practice, it's worth now looking at the power rankings. I know it's not the perfect segue, I guess, because I don't think he's in this top 10. He is not, but even though he slipped out of this top 10, we have a very compelling top 10 to look at, Zach. And I know you have some extra numbers that you can pull up in a second. The biggest one that stood out to me was even though Dustin stayed first, he dropped 10 full points. And really the whole field in general dropped a bunch with kind of a wishy-washy race last time out at North Wilkesboro. We'll see how this keeps evolving over the course of time and if these scores come back up. But as far as the ranking goes, Dustin Stallings still on top and Brendan Maddox still second. That feels right. Look at Scott Fritz, though. He's up into third. Kyle Klenk is finally on this list. Adam Buzzio rings the bell. This is interesting to see how this is evolving over the course of the season.
Yeah, and just going off Scott Fritz, the week before he won the last race at North Wilkesboro, he gained 10 points. But after North Wilkesboro, he only gained 1 point. But obviously he moved up a point, so obviously he moved up position, so now he's up in the third. But something we gotta look at, Kyle Klenk, Adam Buzzio, Braxton Skinner, they weren't ranked when we were coming into North Wilkesboro. Now they're in the rankings. Adam's in 9th, Braxton's in 10th, Kyle Klenk's in 6th. Obviously Johnny Wood, Zach Brandwood, Coulter Clark got dropped out of the rankings. But what's really surprising is I think it's 6 out of the 10. They don't have rankings for the other 3. So yeah, only 2. It was only 2 people. So 5 people lost points after last week's race, and they're still in the top 10.
Very compelling top 10 for sure. I think worth noting, in addition to Scott Fritz, Christian Barnes, I think you talked about him there as well. But 4th place, I was looking at my other monitor, he is really, I think, started surprising in a way because he's just getting more consistent finishes. He had the detour with the DQ technically last week, or last race rather, at North Wilkesboro, but he still advances in the bracket brawl, and he's still finishing well aside from that. And I just think it's interesting. We're seeing some big time fluctuation on this list as time goes on. So I'm very intrigued to see how this evolves going into Pocono next week. So moving on, we have got, qualifying, of course, unloading right now. Before we get to that, Zach, we took a look at some paint schemes already, and I mentioned one that I wanted to look at again, but I will give you a chance here to drop your two before we switch over to qualifying coverage.
Oh, man. It's so tough, but where did I put it? Sorry, I am losing my mind over here. I know for sure I'm picking the 22, Joshua Parent. The noodles, that whole paint scheme just looks great. It looks like there's slime on the top of the car. It looks like the
sauce.
Nickelodeon slime.
If I had to guess, I would say pesto, maybe?
That sounds right. But yeah, that car looks amazing.
So yeah, see, this has a fast food theme. Some drivers are participating, some are not. So as qualifying goes on, it seems like it's a Mason Houseman lock. We can take a look here at Joshua Parent. He's on the list. Who's your other?
My other is going to be Adam Buzzio. We ride the Dente over there at the 5 camp, so gotta give it to Adam right there with the Chili's. Ride the Dente.
I love it. These are two great paint schemes. The 22, it was a surprise to me. I'm very glad to see it. It looks very cool. It's very different out there as Adam Buzzio goes up into the 6th spot in qualifying. Magnus Anderson, by the way, 2nd in qualifying here at Chicago. He's worth noting. Let's also take a look, though, at... Oh, gosh. Who was I taking a look at? The 14... Zach Maddox. This is a wonderful paint scheme. There's two paint schemes just like this. There's the 56 of Richard Wolfsfer and the 14 of Zach Maddox. I like the balance of the 14 better. I'm sorry, Richard. I'm going to take the 14 over the 56. I'm not going to take both. I'm going to take Zach Maddox. You saw him there for a second. And then can we get the... Yes, on track, Dustin Stallings. I have to give it to this 00. I love this. This Irma's Tacos 00 is amazing.
Yeah, the teal and the blue on that car really looks really well, and that is just, I don't know where that place is at, but the paint scheme is so good I want to kind of get their tacos now, so got to figure out where that's at.
I really like it. I'm a big fan. Yeah, and there's a lot of great paint schemes. We'll see some more out there here shortly once the race gets going. We'll take a little bit during stage 1 while this contest goes on to kind of recap some of these paint schemes throughout the field. As Jordan White hits the top of the board. That's Dustin Stallings, though, across the line. Here's Jordan White. His run is over. Stallings has one more lap in the bank. So as we welcome in Zach Murtis, we'll say thank you, Zach King, and let you get to your other kind of race duties here. Zach Murtis, Dustin Stallings on track. Can he set a pole lap time? He was 24th, lap 1, swinging for the fences here, lap 2. Can he get up to that lap time set by Jordan White? It is going to be a 30.232. It's a short. That is going to be... Oh, it didn't even count. Dustin's going to stay at the back of the grid. That's huge. And look who came out this evening.
It's Gavin Rogers in that number 77 Sundance Ford Mustang. A 30.52 lap number 1. He's going to roll off turn number 2 down the back straightaway here at Chicago. Absolutely ripping on the fence. Big send down into turn number 3. He's got 20 seconds to make it back to the line. He's going to be well and clear to get back to it. And off turn number 4, back to the start-finish line. It's going to be a 31.5.
Wow.
30.15. That's pole time, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, Gavin Rogers just shows up here late in qualifying. And, well, that's pole position for car 77. I can't believe that. That's crazy. Connects late. Just shows up and shows out there in qualifying to conclude tonight's MXWraps.com pre-race show. A big thank you to MX Wraps for sponsoring tonight's race. This is the Meal Deal 250, but it is brought to you by MX Wraps, and definitely take a look at what they have to offer. mx-wraps.com. Pre-made iRacing bases, more coming at you. It's a slim selection for now. It's being built in real time, pretty much. Brendan and Zach are working on paint schemes over there. You can also order commissions. A lot of this league relies on mxwraps.com, and we're happy to be a proud partner. That said, weather conditions brought to you this evening by Cody Williams Design. Here's a look at things. 72.1 degrees in the air, 83 degrees on track. And Zach, I also want to take a look at the sim dates. We are in May for this. Of course, it would be a little bit odd, I think, to race in November in Illinois. So the May sim date, it's a little warmer than you might expect for Chicago here in December. Well,
there's usually snow on the ground this time of the year, so...
yeah, I might have said November 1st. It is December, of course, December 2nd. But, yeah, this I think is going to give us a better race, and feels a lot more, I think, reasonable for sure. So with that said, we can get down to it. We've got cars on the grid, 31 of them here this evening for the Meal Deal 250. Let's go through your Meal Deal 250 starting grid. On pole this evening, you've got Gavin Rogers in car 77. Buzzer beater lap time is good for pole position alongside Jourdain White. Mason Houseman, last one here at Chicago in Season 3. He lines up alongside Magnus Anderson and just ahead of Josh Perrin and Zach Hall. Back in row 4, it's Brendan Maddox, it's Johnny Wood Jr. In row 5, Coulter Clark and Gray Walker.
Rolling off in row number 6, you've got Adam Buzzio and Richard Wolsifer. We got a little burnout off the line right there. Rolling off in the 12th, in the 13th position, you will find Zach Maddox, and to his outside in that 14th spot, you will find Christian Barnes. Rolling off right behind them, Scott Fritz in that 48 car with Stephen Borbell to his outside in the 16th position. He's one of your ones to watch tonight. Carl Pooler in that 17th position right to his outside. Tim Henderson, who was looking good last race at North Wilkesboro, ended up not finishing where he wanted to. Right behind them, though, in that row number 10, you'll find Anthony Teseo and Evan Patinko.
Back in 21st, let's take you to the end of the grid, William Maple Jr. alongside Jason Bottoms. We spoke to him in pre-race along with Cole Lewis. His teammate Kyle Clank starts 24th. Then it's Rusty Rafferty and Dustin Stallings mired well back in the field. Dan Stoccaro, Sam Dyer, how about Robert Moyer Jr., Cody Dorsey, and Dakota Bly at the back of the field. Quickly take a look at your Whiplash SimCam's race details. It is a 165-lap race, 247.5 miles, just under that 250-mile marker. 2 hour is the time limit. Stage 1, 50 laps. Let's go racing. Into the restart zone, Gavin Rogers leads us off in the BRB Sundance Pro Series MX Wraps Meal Deal 250. We're racing. And on to the back stretch. One car in the wall, I believe. That is Christian Barnes up there headed the wrong direction. But at the front, Jourdain White taking on one of the best. Season 1 champion, Gavin Rogers, trying to hang on to the outside. He's going to have the lead, but Jourdain White is to his inside.
They are still doubled up 3 rows deep from second on back. You can see them all fighting down on the inside line. Up top, Jourdain White trying to find some momentum. The run's going to be in his favor off corner number 2. One car sliding backwards. That's Stephen Borbell.
Stephen Borbell moving backwards, but here is the lunge. Jourdain White down low again. Other drivers working the inside. Anderson, Houseman, Parent, and more. And Jourdain White will take over. Lap number 2 goes to the Jamaican, but here comes Gavin Rogers.
The Jamaican sensation trying to find his way to the front. He set the fastest lap of the race, but here comes Magnus Anderson down to the bottom of the racetrack. He's going to be side by side with that 83 car coming up off of turn number 2. He's got teammate Josh Parent behind him by a few car lengths, but now Mason Houseman splits the difference between the Whiplash racing cars and gets to the inside of the 4 car.
Lap 3 complete. Mason Houseman, Magnus Anderson alongside one another as they fight now for the 3rd position.
Teseo goes quickest.
Josh Parent was talking leading up to this race about a lot of big runs, big draft battles with this car at this racetrack, and we're seeing that, I think, already. A lot of guys getting big runs, making some big moves on cars ahead. You just got to manage that. You can't do anything too crazy here early. Got to save the crazy stuff for fighting for the win.
How you do? We saw Tim Henderson just down the apron. He's throwing it down to the inside, into the corner. We're 3 wide through the pack. Oh, these guys, they heard you, Andrew. They heard you say crazy, and they think you men get crazy now. A couple of guys side flapping the wall down the back straightaway, but big moves to the inside throughout these speed shot cameras. The fight's still up front, though. Gavin Rogers dropping back quickly. Magnus Anderson has moved himself up into the 2nd spot. You've got Mason Houseman in the Project 59 car moving up. Rogers to 5th, Parrott to 4th. Now we're riding on board with Brendan Maddox as you see all the fighting going on in front.
He's in the middle of all of this as Magnus Anderson and Jordan White go at it for the race lead. They're side by side, and Anderson slides back now. Houseman takes over 2nd. There might have been contact between cars 4 and 83 that time out of turn 2, but the 83 prevails. Jordan White, the Jordan train, leading here still on lap number 6, making some big money moves here at the front. Question is now, Zach.
Grabbed the wall a little bit too.
Question is now, Zach, you're going to have to pit here in stage 1. If we have an actual green flag look to this race, is pushing now going to hurt you later?
Personally, I don't think so. We see Zach Hall move down to the inside on Josh Parent, Gavin Rogers going with him. I think pushing now is kind of what you need to work yourself into, because if you stay packed up like this the entire run, just think about what's going to happen when these guys start heading to pit road. You're going to have 5-6 cars trying to pit at the same time, all going for the same real estate. And the big move when it comes to pitting here in Chicago is get on the brakes as hard as you can, stay on the inside coming off of turn number 4, and that's going to hold up a lot of guys making these haymaker moves to the inside. So we're 3 wide, middle of the pack. You've got Gavin Rogers. I say middle. You've got Coulter Clark in the middle. Rogers inside, Parent outside, outside line prevailing. Rogers slips on back, and they're still side by side. I don't know what's happened to Gavin Rogers. He started up front, and he's done nothing but drop back these last couple of laps.
I'm telling you, I think there's the method of the madness. I think he's saving his stuff. I think he recognizes these guys are burning their tires right now, and there's definitely an art to that, right? You want to take advantage of the short run speed you have, but you've got to be careful. You can easily go over that line, I think, and burn these tires up very quickly. And if we do get a green flag look here, oh man, it could spell trouble as we approach those pit stops later on in this stage. Of course, stage 1 will run through the completion of lap 50. That will also conclude our MX Wraps Best in Show contest. These guys are still too packed up right now for us to take a look at these paint schemes, but you're seeing some of them as the broadcast goes on. There's some fantastic ones, as there's a fantastic move there from Coulter Clark to go to the inside of Magnus Anderson. That's for 3rd.
Yeah, he's trying to look on Mason Houseman. There's lots of fights going on. There's a fight right outside the top 10. They were 3 wide coming off of turn number 2. So these guys are fighting for position. Zach Hall to the outside now. Parent's going to go with them. They're getting a little bit more comfortable as they roll through. The top 10 starting to smooth themselves out. Rogers has fallen all the way back to the 10th spot. Buzios moves up to 9th. Couple of cars in the wall. You saw Zach Hall make a big move up off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Almost took Joshua Parent with him to the inside of Coulter Clark, to the inside of Magnus Anderson now. Hall on the charge. I think he's going to try to bring that 22 with him. That 54 car searching on that high line, but Magnus Anderson says nothing doing. He's going to keep it rolling, keep it trucking on that top line.
Coulter grabs the wall there on the back straightaway. That's okay. A little bit of wall contact, I think, is manageable in these cars. You can just touch that outside wall a little bit, and usually as long as you're either just grazing some safer barrier, maybe even lighter, just tapping some concrete, you should be okay. You just don't want to hit it too hard. You can still do damage in these cars. I know Zach King and I were talking about the resiliency of this ARCA car versus the Gen 7 Cup car. You don't break toe links as easy, and you don't maybe bend suspension components as easily, but you can still bend the body pretty easily, Zach, and that could hurt you in the long run, mostly in aero battles and such like we're going to see here tonight as Houseman works on White, and you saw Anderson stick his nose down to the inside there into turn 3. I would be careful with that. I think Chicago on the long run feels like a top lane racetrack.
And I feel like as we have rolled into a sort of modern era when it comes to any form of racing, whether you look at Formula One, short track racing, NASCAR, MotoGP, anything. Aerodynamics have taken such a huge stranglehold on the racing product, even on something like a short track scene where you would think that at a short track, aero doesn't really matter that much. When you come to a track like this, aero does matter, but nowadays cars are built more around aerodynamics, and even just a little sacrifice of that can be so detrimental to your race.
And Houseman got the wall pretty good there at a turn 4. The other thing here in this car, it's a bit like racing the truck, right? It's similar power. I think it has more power than the truck, but it's kind of bogged down and has just as much aero kind of holding it back as the truck. So there's a big aero wake, right? There's a big wake of air behind the car, and that means you can easily run into dead air, basically, have no downforce, and run up the racetrack behind somebody when you're following their tire track. So I think Houseman kind of learned that pretty quickly there. While the Gen 7 still has dirty air problems, it is designed to channel air through the diffuser underneath the race car and still give you some downforce as you follow. So the Gen 7, yes, it has its problems, but it's better than this ARCA car as far as dirty air. The dirty air definitely is challenging these guys already, as we've seen multiple drivers hit the outside wall and quarter exit.
Yeah, Coulter Clark being the latest of, and Richard Wolsifer has been on a very recent charge. So I'm sticking to the inside of Brendan Maddox. He's fallen a little bit back now, sticking behind that MX Wraps Toyota Camry. Wolsifer has been pushing that 56 car ever so slightly, as you see Parent fall in line in front of Maddox. Buzzio up on that top line, getting a little dicey right now. I thought Wolsifer was actually going to turn Maddox around in turn number 1. He took a big lunge to the inside. Now he's got a big push from Zach Hall. Here comes Gavin Rogers back on the charge. You talked about it, Andrew. Saving his stuff, trying to see if these guys were going to burn it up a little bit. He fell outside the top 10, and now he's backing up to the 8th spot, working on Adam Buzzio now.
So moves being made as this race goes on and starts to thin the herd a little bit. Not thin the herd, maybe that's the wrong word, but it's definitely stringing these guys out as the run goes on. We're seeing little gaps develop throughout the field, and we're seeing a lot more single file than 10-15 laps ago, and that's the look I think we want to see to this race. We want to see these guys string out and get into a longer run mentality as Houseman finally gets to the outside here of Jordan White. This is big, Zach. This could be a pass for the lead as Coulter Clark grabs the wall and they move around behind.
A lot of contact for the lead, a lot of contact for 4th. Joshua Parent moves into that spot. Brendan Maddox to his inside. That top line's been great on corner defense. Oh, look at White. He slides right up in front, plays the game of self-clear, gets in front of Mason Houseman, but Houseman says, no, thank you, sir. Sends it down to the inside, takes the lead away. He's got the nose in front, but Jordan White is saying, I still have control of this race. Takes it back on the outside.
Great battle here in the top 3.
The bottom.
Anderson moves down. Parent and Maddox are starting to reel these 3 in. Magnus Anderson painting that white line down underneath the 69 car now. Problem there is he lost that good air, that downforce. He got in the dirty air, tightened up, went up the racetrack there out of turn 4. So again, that's what I'm talking about. That there's no air underneath these race cars. Follow somebody in their tire tracks, you're going to wash up the racetrack or have to slow down. One of the two or both even. You're seeing that in real time as now Zach Hall moves around. He's going to go to the inside of Coulter Clark. This is some of that battling that was going on behind the leaders, but the lead was just too darn good at the moment. Here it is.
Yeah, everything just trying to filter in. And, the big thing with mid-pack racing like these guys are having right now is they're at the, what's the word I'm looking for? They're at the mercy of the dirty air and the aero wake. A lot of these guys want to run a nice, easy line on that bottom line, but you've got guys like Brendan Maddox, for instance. He is coming down from the top to the bottom and just crossing that wake over Zach Hall's nose, preventing him from having that clean air he wants. He gets that aero walk through the middle of the corner, makes him slide up a little bit, makes him have to catch the wheel pad. So you've got to really fight that car to get to the front, but you've also got to try to find that medium where you can still save and hold on to your stuff.
And of course, this is just a battle at the front of the field. It's too good right now to leave, but you can see the rest of the field is starting to string out behind them. Great battles all over the racetrack, though. And a lot of storylines to cover as the night goes on. Of course, we'll be watching your bracket throughout the course of the night, but right now the story is stage 1-0! Contact behind Brendan Maddox! big in the wall. The 23, the 54, and more. Clank gets the 23. That's big. That is huge.
That is your points leader right there. Big impact and race over. Kyle Clank, he was one to watch. You saw it on the social media post here on Pit.tv earlier tonight. Clank, he was looking good. Clank is now out of this race. Coulter Clark with big damage. Brendan Maddox, surprisingly, no meatball flag on that race car. Might be able to continue, salvage some points here on the night, but that's going to be an early caution here tonight at Chicagoland Speedway.
That is almost a surefire lock now for Scott Fritz to advance in the bracket over Kyle Clank. And Kyle was definitely a threat, not just for wins lately, but to move on all the way in that bracket. That is big for that driver. The 23 as well. I mean, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
That's junk. And that's your points leader, as you mentioned. I mean, he might be able to get back in the race later tonight, but not competitively. He'll be, 40, 50 laps down. That is disastrous. And again,
it's gonna take
go back to the pre-race show. He's got a ton of points, right? So he's safe in terms of the chase, but this is going to be a big blow to his regular season at the very least.
It's gonna take more than 5 guys to fix that car.
Yeah, that's that tracks.
Had to make the joke.
Well, let's see who hit the peanut shell on the floor here. I don't know. It seemed like Coulter got into Brendan, but we only saw part of it in the background, so here's a look at it. Did Coulter get into Brendan? Or did Brendan come down into Coulter? That's what I wonder.
It's just a...
Netco.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, the real estate was closing up. Maddox was... Oh, man, that's a little egregious right there, in my opinion. But it looks like the real estate was just kind of closing up a little bit. You saw Maddox going for the move on Parent with Clark going for the move on Maddox. The stack up happens, and that allows Clark to get in there a little bit quicker, and you just see where it steps out from the netcode, and oh, Clank just piles in. I'm going to call it as I see it on that one a little bit. Kyle Clank came in there very late. I feel like there was a lot of time for that 31 car to maybe avoid it.
He was in a battle there with Henderson into the corner. He sees Teseo get the wall ahead, and he's on the brakes. He's checking up. It's hard to say, and I'll break this down a little more, because to Clank's defense here, I'm going to roll this back. Let's advance it a little and then slow it down here just a second. The spin happens. He gets out of the gas. You can see the RPMs drop right here. RPMs start to drop. So he's in the brakes. Right here, traditionally, that car is going to roll down the banking. But Brendan did a good job of holding his brakes. That saves the mass below. But unfortunately, Kyle, who's committed to the outside, not much he can do about it.
It's easy for us to say where it may look different from a driver's perspective, and I've been in a position like that before, so I know where Kyle's head is a little bit when he sees a car spinning. Obviously, you think the car is going to spin down the banking, and it's my consensus on the matter is you see a car holding it down, pull that car down to the inside, but you also have cars to your inside, and you don't want to turn in on them, so it's either ruin your own race or ruin somebody else's race. We start rolling back to the green flag here.
Oh yeah, I just heard the engines fire up all of a sudden. I did not expect to go green that quickly, but here we are, back green. Very, very suddenly we are racing, and just about everybody pitted under that caution. In fact, everybody did, aside from the cars involved in the crash and Cody Dorsey. So, new tires, new fuel, maybe. I don't know, Zach. I might have to send you to the replay to see who took tires and who didn't, because it seems like it was a lot of short stops in that round of pit stops.
I would have to say that majority of those guys took tires. I feel like you would be amiss if you didn't. There's just too many factors right now. We're going to roll to the end of the stage here, and, from the looks of it, as I'm looking on, just about everyone decided to take it to pit road. Looks like the big consensus on the matter was gas and go.
So there you go. It's right in the territory where it could have been a two-tire stop for a lot of these guys, but we have 3 wide racing. Tim Henderson, Josh Parent, Johnny Wood Jr., the first 3 wide, then Buzzio on the bottom, Anderson in the middle, and now Maddox up high. Oh my gosh, 3 wide in multiple rows right now. On the restart, a battle for the lead, Jordan White and Gavin Rogers, round 2. This time Rogers going to paint the inside line. 3 wide for second, Fritz, Hall, and White, with Henderson looking to make it 4 wide.
4 wide to the bottom, Henderson to the apron. Where is this going to play out when he comes back up onto the racetrack? This is going to be interesting. We're still 4 wide going down into turn number 1.
4 wide under the drone in turn 1. They get it sorted. 1 car off the pit lane, I believe that's Cody Dorsey. They're still racing like it's for the end, and look at Dustin Stallings. Welcome to the top 10, Mr. Defending Champ. He started deep in the field. Started deep in the field, but he has worked now looking at 5th place. Here he goes.
To the inside of Fritz, down to the bottom, painting that white line. Joshua Parent right behind him, Jordan White to the outside, Fritz in the middle in the sucker hole. Now Parent to the inside, 3 wide, Johnny Wood Jr. on the outside. Jordan White has cleared, Parent's next to him now. They're racing for that top 5.
Of course, the top 10 pays points, and that's not far away. 20 laps away from the end of stage 1. Battle for the lead, Rogers and Henderson. Here they go, front straightaway. Henderson way down low. You know what, Zach? I think he took tires. He and Stallings took tires. Henderson took 2. Stallings took 4. The rest of these guys took none.
Check the pit timer.
That's what I'm telling you. Based on that, based on the pit timer, that's what it says. It was Tim Henderson. I'll bring it up for you. Tim Henderson, 9.37 seconds. That's a second and a half longer than a lot of these guys with, 7-second pit stops. Stallings, I can tell you, was 100% a 4-tire stop. Look at that, 14.2. That's easily a 4-tire stop for Dustin Stallings. So anything around 9 typically is going to be a 2-tire. Anything 13, 14 plus is typically going to be a 4-tire. That's what you see for the top 2.
Look at it from this perspective, though. Was it worth it to burn a set of tires? Obviously, we run this race green to the end of stage 1. These guys are walking out of here with maximum stage points. But at the same time, you just lost a set of tires for the remainder of this race. And if we have a late race caution, these guys are going to be at a disadvantage unless we have green flag runs.
Well, it's 4 change sets, 5 total sets. So they still have 3 in the bank. I think, yes, personally, I've been saying for seasons, stage points matter, and we're seeing some drivers prioritize it tonight. I can't back up now. I'm going to say yes, it's worth it, as this is the battle deeper in the top 10. Adam Buzzio, Jordan White, Magnus Anderson gets ahead of White here out of turn 4. That is for 10th.
All the cars that took tires are quickly rolling through the field. Anderson sliding into position, trying to get around Jordan White on that bottom line. He should theoretically get cleared. Doesn't look like he will.
And there's your 2 Chick-fil-A schemes next to one another. Richard Wolsifer trying to race with Zach Maddox. This is for 12th and 13th. These 2 could easily be in that fight for a stage point here in just a couple of moments.
Looking at Evan Patinko in the middle of a 3-wide battle. You have got Bottoms to the inside, Houseman to the outside. Looking a little bit further ahead, Anderson and White, you can see the battling behind the 2 of them. As Anderson clears, gets into the top 10, and the fight continues on. 3 wide, Wolsifer in the middle. Houseman to the outside, Maddox to the inside, Borbell directly in front of him. He somehow got around that whole mess.
Houseman trying to clear the 56. He does. Drops down now as he looks forward. Will pass Jordan White. Jordan is slipping big time. The Jordan train heading to the caboose. As Mason Houseman now looks to the inside of Stephen Borbell. Very single file and spread out ahead of the 69, but very packed up and battlesome behind the 69 as you see Jordan White, Richard Wolsifer, and others racing for 13th on back. And there goes Patinko down low. Trying to go.
Oh, he thought about it. Bottoms was there. He called out of it last second. Good job, good awareness by Evan Patinko to keep a hold of that race car and not spin down to the bottom line, take out Bottoms with him. But that outside line continues to play in the favor of Zach Maddox as he sits right behind Patinko. Big move to the inside. This is for the 14th position. Wolsifer is clear of the mix. Patinko says, I'm going to try to take my hand at it as Bottoms goes to the outside.
Down low, Patinko working here on Jason Bottoms, who ran the top there in 3 and 4. Here comes Zach Maddox, one Chick-fil-A car. The other one just ahead, that's Richard Wolsifer. This is the fight just outside of the top 10. These guys, depending on how they play the next 10 laps, could be in contention to get a stage point. But right now, that last stage point held by the 4 car. Here comes the 2. Borbo on the outside, Anderson down low.
Mason Houseman's coming into the party as well as they have caught Adam Buzzio, Johnny Wood Jr., Carl Puller. Big slide up. Borbo gets to the bumper of Magnus Anderson. He says, hello, neighbor. Gonna try to give him a push down the straightaway. Buzzio goes to the bottom, making a move on Johnny Wood Jr. So now the fight for the stage points, it's getting dicey. Houseman now into the mix. Here comes Bottoms to the inside.
Jason Bottoms out of nowhere. He's on 4 tires, and he's putting them to good use. He wants some stage points.
And he needs them. He's one of the drivers that we have seen kind of find some speed as of late. Bottoms is one driver that we usually see a little bit further back. I know the Jason Bottoms fan club is going to be happy to see that 17 car working himself into the stage points, passing up Adam Buzzio, trying to hang on to it.
A reminder, the 88 and the 00 leading this race are on new tires. 2 for the 88, 4 for the 00. The 17 also has new tires. That's Jason Bottoms we're watching now. Most of the rest of the field has old tires. I think Borbell has new tires, though. He took about 30 seconds in the pit lane, so it would make sense that he took tires. Mason Houseman spent 52 seconds on the pit lane. Carl Puller, attic to basement, back up into the house. He's back on the racetrack. Oh boy, a lot going on here.
That was dicey from Carl Puller. Adam Buzzio's going to go on by. Mason Houseman's going to take that high line away as well.
Battle for the lead.
And Bottoms.
Dustin
Side by
Stallings
side.
on the inside of Tim Henderson. This is for the first position and the stage win. They're approaching Brendan Maddox, who's somehow back on the racetrack, Zach. He is only
out here to get
16
some
laps
stage
down.
points. Or not stage points. He's out here to just get points.
But these two battling for the stage win. Dustin Stallings will clear Tim Henderson. It might not be over just yet. Henderson fires back.
Yeah, don't look now, but there's fighting all over the racetrack inside this top 10. You had the fight just on the outskirts of the top 10 for the stage points. You've got the fight for the stage win. You've got a fight right behind them, too. 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the road. Parent, Hall, and Rogers, they're all in a bit of a heated battle, trying to hang on for the 3rd spot. Parent had it. Hall got it. Rogers wants it. And I think everyone wants to maximize the stage points as best as they possibly can. The fight up front, these first 5 positions is what we're looking at right now as we roll to the end of the stage in about 6 laps here.
Caution!
Caution on the speedway!
Borbell and Bottoms, the 2 car is slow and stopped.
Looks like Bottoms is already in communication to race control to take blame for the incident.
There's Jason Bottoms. His car looks okay. The 2 honestly looks okay as well. I see a little bit of right front damage. He's fine. He had a scary week at North Wilkesboro a couple of weeks ago, but Borbell is fine here today, at least in this battle. And this caution, there's Buzzio down low. Oh wow, that's a hit to the nose. That might be a little more damage than we can visually see, but Borbell, it could be worse.
It could absolutely be worse. And we're hearing from race control that will not be staged.
Watch this here. Bottoms grabs the wall out of 4, just comes down, right hooks the 2. And then they scatter trying to miss the 17. That's just a pretty cut and dry incident. And that'd be why Jason Bottoms keyed up so quickly to take fault for the incident. Dustin Stallings is going to stay out, I think. I don't think they've had a full opportunity yet to pit, but I'd imagine he stays out here. I want to recap, though, as we only have a few moments left of this MX Raps Best in Show contest here are your contenders. The 00
And
is
they're
one of them.
pitting.
Well, hang on. Let it.
Oh. I fell for the fake out.
So the 00 is one of them. He's in this Best in Show contest. Dustin Stallings, you see the very, it's a tropical theme-ish for the Irma's Tacos Toyota Camry. We also have the 5 of Adam Buzzio. He is running back here in 6th currently. He has stayed out under this caution. Some drivers have pitted. Rogers, Houseman, Wood, and some others. But there's Adam Buzzio. He is in the Best in Show contest. He has brought out the Ride the Dente number 5 once again. We also have the 14 of Zach Maddox with the Chick-fil-A Eat More Chicken campaign alongside Richard Wolsifer. Fantastic paint scheme, looks really good. It looks very well done. It's kind of it's the counterpart to the 56. I just prefer the balance on the 14. That's the only reason I took the 14 over the 56. But the 14 is eligible for the contest as well as the 22 of Josh Parent, the Noodles and Company Ford Mustang. I really dig this. This is pretty cool. The pesto on there, the Parmesan. This is a very cool vibe.
I love it. I think it's a very nice blend. It works well, especially on the Ford.
So those are your Best in Show contenders. A little bit more time to vote. I bring this up because we are 3 laps away from the end of that vote. When we conclude stage 1 here, the vote will be final, and whoever is out front of that vote will win it. Right now, that is Zach Maddox, but I think it's pretty doable. So if you're watching on YouTube, and that's the chat that I have open all broadcast, you can vote. If you're on a phone, if you're on a computer, it doesn't matter what you're on. If you're on a TV or a console that makes it hard to vote, you have a smart device. I know you do. I know you have a way to vote. If you're not, I don't know. But I know you got a way. Go make your vote. It'll warm you up for the Driver of the Day contest later on. So go make a vote for Best in Show. We just showed you the 4 paint schemes. As we get ready to go back Green Flag Racing, though, a look at who pitted under this caution. The first of them is going to be Gavin Rogers in the 77, and he is on 4 tires, along with Johnny Wood Jr., along with Mason Houseman, Richard Wolsifer, Christian Barnes, William Maple, Anthony DeSeo. How about even Dakota Bly on 4 tires and fuel? And that's another fast food paint scheme that I really like there. It's a throwback to one of Kevin Harvick's from years past. But here we go. Restart zone coming up for the whole field. And to end stage 2, it's effectively a green-white checkered, rather stage 1, not stage 2. Green-white checkered racing, more or less. 2 laps to go in stage 1. Here we go. Big restart for Josh Parent, straight to 2nd place. It's going to be mono e mono, it looks like. 00 and 22 for this final lap of stage 1. Can the 48 of Scott Fritz get there? It's a battle for 3rd.
3 wide behind. Henderson down to the bottom once again, trying to take advantage of it. He got a very shaky restart. Went from 2nd to 5th. Look at Magnus Anderson trying to come up through on the bottom line. He's still in for the stage points. Up front, though, Dustin Stallings got a car length lead over Josh Parent. He sends it down into 3 and 4. No dice. It's going to be Dustin Stallings off of turn number 4. He'll take the green and white checkered here at Chicagoland, and he'll win stage number 1. It was a photo finish right there for a couple of positions throughout the top 10. But you've got Dustin Stallings, your stage winner. Then it's Josh Parent, Zach Hall, Scott Fritz, Tim Henderson. Your top 5, Adam Buzzio, Zach Maddox, Carl Pooler, Mason Houseman, and Rusty Rafferty ends up completing your top 10 for stage here at Chicagoland Speedway.
I'll tell you what, because Dustin has a chance to win the Best in Show contest, if you guys are waiting in the wings, now is the time to vote. I'll give you a couple more caution laps to do it. He won the stage. We'll be talking to him in a moment, and he's eligible for that contest. So you got to vote now if you want the Irma's Tacos 00 to win. He's a nomination of mine. I love this paint scheme. I think it's probably, in my opinion, the best one on the racetrack this evening. The colors are really well done, very well balanced overall. The spec map is fantastic. It's a really good looking 00 there. So good looking paint scheme. It's my personal favorite. And guess what? I run the poll, so I can keep it open a little bit longer. But we have pit stops, and we'll be able to fully watch this cycle for the first time tonight, Zach. I'm willing to bet if they have not pitted in the last caution or two, they come in, they get 4, and we're going to see a lot of cars stay out. So we'll be able to see on this next restart how much of a difference that makes. Henderson, he stays out a bit longer. Whoa. Stallings is in. Parent's going to bring the rest of the field down to the farther end of pit lane.
Everyone hitting the box nice and easy, slow and smooth. Stallings is already out and away. Parent's up on the jack. Jordan White's going to pull it into his box. Houseman's out and away.
Houseman, I think, came
Fritz
in
is
for
out.
nothing but fuel. And Parent wins the race off pit lane over the 23, 32, and some others. The 23, of course, is lapped multiple times, as he had all that damage a little while ago. But there is your Stage 1 winner, Dustin Stallings. And he's the defending champion of this series. And honestly, I'm surprised he's not been to victory lane a bit more this season. In fact, he's only won at Daytona so far here in Season 5. So maybe tonight's the night that we see the 00 get back to his winning ways as he wins Stage 1. Let's bring in driver 00. I told everybody voting they'd get a little bit more time to make their vote, Dustin, but unfortunately, I did nominate you, and I want to give you props because this paint scheme is fantastic. It's not going to be best in show quite this evening, but you are best to the checkered flag, green and white checkered flag at least, in Stage 1. What was it like out there here early in this race, getting used to this car on an intermediate once again?
A lot of patience. That I kind of screwed up my second lap on qualifying. They got me way back in traffic and just had to be real patient early on there. And when we got to caution, probably, I think it was about 25 laps into the stage. Some of my teammates were on a different strategy, and I was kind of willing to take a chance on a different one, and it paid off for me. So now I'm going to struggle here a little bit, see if I can at least stay within a certain distance and try to make up for the set of tires I used there in the middle of Stage 1.
And of course, you were racing Tim there for a large part of Stage 1. We thought he was going to stay out. He actually pitted just now. Does that help or hurt you for this restart?
Not too sure. It all depends on how I manage my tires there coming to the end of Stage 1. I was pushing pretty hard, just trying to get to the front. But we'll see.
Hey, best of luck, Dustin.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's your Stage 1 winner, Dustin Stallings, here at Chicagoland Speedway for the Meal Deal 250. We are back green flag racing. Richard Wolsifer leads us to the green. Tim Henderson did pit the last time around, as it's a 6.5 Motorsports top 2 to turn 1. And down the backstretch, I don't want to call it a back straightaway, Zach. It's hardly straight. But the back stretch here at Chicagoland Speedway, everybody getting mostly single file that time to the back straight. I was surprised. But here we go. Lap 1 on the restart complete.
A little bit of fighting throughout the field. Parent and Bottoms side by side. Houseman and Teseo side by side as well. You see Johnny Wood Jr. up top. He's trying to find a way to move forward. Johnny has been a little quiet tonight. He hasn't exactly been up towards the front of the field. He's been inside the top 10, but he hasn't been up where he probably wants to be. Now you see that 75 car absolutely shooting for the stars and trying to go catch Richard Wolsifer as Barnes and Rogers get side by side close together. Fight behind them though, Parent and Teseo, they're going at it. That is for the 5th spot.
Bunching up, here we go, the whole top 6 under a blanket once again. As soon as they spread out, they contract.
3 wide.
Oh, hold your breath.
3 wide, almost 4 wide behind him. Just for that top 10 position. Stallings in the middle. He saw Zach Hall tap the wall behind him. It is getting dicey up here. Rogers to the inside. See Barnes trying to cover off Parent. It's going to work for now. That 22 stays in line. Gets the draft down the back straightaway. Barnes gets in line with Rogers. Parent stays bottom. Teseo goes with him. Fritz to the bottom as well. It's almost like a super speedway race right now.
Big run to the line here. It's only lap 59, though, as Rogers takes back over out front. He, of course, led us to the initial green. He was your pole sitter tonight here in this Meal Deal 250. Wolsifer, though, gets the big run out of turn 2, launches back ahead. Here comes Houseman with a run.
Christian Barnes trying to fall in line. Rogers with a switch to the top. Gets some big momentum up there. He's either going to try to stick with it or cross him over down the front straightaway. Zach Hall's coming into the mix now as well. He's trying to go with Houseman as Rogers makes his switch back to the inside. He slides it in there. Big send. Wolfsburg's going to try to switch back.
And it succeeds. Wolfsburg back down low, the 77. Here comes Zach Hall. He pokes his nose down low. A lot on the line for these drivers, of course. We've been talking mostly about stage points so far in this race, but we're 10 laps removed from that first stage. We can start to think more about the bracket, more about the regular season coming to a close in, I don't know, we haven't looked at the schedule yet. I think it's, 8 more races? Not even. I think it's 6 more races after this. So we're starting to get closer. I think this might be the halfway race, actually, in the regular season, now that I think about it. We're starting to think about the chase along with that bracket narrowing down.
Oh, Barnes in the wall!
Houseman, big run here on the outside of Hall. He's going to follow Johnny Wood. Rogers stays out front. Wolsifer, Johnny Wood, Houseman, Hall. They battle for the rest of the top 5. In the name of brackets, so far, it's pretty much all favorites leading the way. All those underdogs we talked to earlier, they are all falling behind. Even including Kyle Clank, as Fritz was the higher seed in that matchup. So, oh, netcode there. Wolsifer and Rogers. This netcode might be larger for the whole field. This might be something to watch. We saw it with Clark and Maddox. Just a bit of netcode. That was some big netcode if you saw it there briefly off of turn 4. And what netcode means, before we get to a big incident, what netcode means basically is a difference in what you're visually seeing on the racetrack and what the sim kind of calculates. So the sim is calculating, it's what's called prediction code. It's trying to run calculations. Big crash! The 22 in the wall! Oh my goodness! Josh Parent can't get a break. And many more. Zach Hall, he's out. Well, the 32 is junk. He's already towed it. Who else is involved in this? I can't tell. Rusty Rafferty, he's junk. I believe he even got a stage point tonight, so that hurts. I'm not sure who else was involved in this. I'm trying to look through the drivers and see who has damage. We'll, of course, find out in a moment when we take a look at the replay, but certainly the biggest hits go to the 22, the 32, and the 34. Let's take a look back here. Josh Parent in that Noodles and Company 22 down low. It's Anthony Teseo in the middle. Zach Hall up top. Off of turn 4. Teseo just mismanaged where he was and just hooked him. So as Zach Murtis has some connection difficulties of his own, what we're seeing here is another replay between this 3 wide, and watch the 15. That's that blue car in the middle. Watch him off of turn 4. As they approach the wall, he kind of flinches down. He's got room. Oh, man. The 22 came up, too. From that angle, you can see Parent tracked up a little more. They ran into each other. Jason Bottoms did get clipped by the 32, but he kept moving. You'll see it right there. Just got clipped in the right rear. I think his car is okay, but definitely the 15, 22, 32, and 34 are the big drivers involved in this, and that's a lot of damage for those cars. Let's watch this from a couple of other vantage points. Right here. Golly, that's a big hit, especially for Parent and Hall. Rafferty. See Hall there through the grass. Parts and pieces all over the racetrack. Grass flying. That's a big incident for those drivers. I will say, to everybody's credit, we're 60 or so laps in, about 100 miles. This is the first big incident we've seen tonight, so props to the whole field. Just hate that it takes out such competitive race cars, specifically the 22 and 34, or 32 rather. 34 as well. I mean, this... Yeah, this is just a pain for those guys. One more look. This is from Teseo's perspective in the middle. 3 wide. I mean, he comes down and Josh comes up. It's just classic met in the middle. Some pit stops under this caution. Some drivers staying out as we get ready to go back green flag racing. It looks like the top 7 or so all stay out. Gavin Rogers did pit. He was the first one back on the racetrack, but it's fuel only, really, for a lot of these guys that did pit, if not most of them. So as we go back green here at the completion of lap 66, we will begin again on lap 67. One lap complete off the restart. Richard Wolsever stays out front. But for how long? He's got Johnny Wood, Mason Houseman, Scott Fritz all right behind. Throw Zach Maddox and Stephen Borbell in the mix. How about Gavin Rogers still up here? Oh, in the wall, Johnny Wood. Everybody reacts. Three wide. Scott Fritz in the middle. And so what I was trying to say with netcode, it's basically a difference in what you visually see and what iRacing's prediction code runs. So iRacing's prediction code basically handles the actual physical positions of the hit boxes of the cars, right? And the server, or the clients in this case, each person's sim kind of transmits where they're actually steering to. So there can be a difference in where the sim predicts the car to be and where the driver truly places the car, if that makes sense, if the connection is unstable. It hinges mostly on latency or ping, if you know what that is. So it just, basically, bad connection equals a gap in between the physical car and in the hitbox, and that can make it look like cars are making contact and effectively make them make contact, even if visually it doesn't look like it, if there's instability in the network. We saw that already in multiple scenarios. I'm worried if we have more hard racing like we've seen tonight and more internet instability out there, could we see more of that as Mason Houseman gets to the right rear here of Johnny Wood Jr. Richard Wolsever out front. Johnny Wood second. Here comes the other CFA car, the Best in Show winner, Zach Maddox. He's into this fight now for third. Yeah, there's Rusty Rafferty checking in the YouTube chat. Absolutely junked on the front straightaway. along with Josh Parent, Zach Hall, and Anthony Teseo. I think Teseo has continued on, even Parent has, but Rafferty and Hall are done. Some great battles here. Maddox slides in behind Houseman, but right ahead of Fritz and Borbell. Fritz in the wall there briefly into turn 3. Adam Buzzio right behind. Gavin Rogers there. Christian Barnes and Cole Lewis make up the top 10. Cole Lewis doing a fantastic job right now. He is up against Adam Buzzio in this bracket. And Buzzio is only a few spots ahead. He's that black car on the outside lane. Lewis could get there. Lewis trying to move forward. Dustin Stallings on his inside, though, setting him back another spot. He can still see that 5 car of Adam Buzzio. And I think the pack is almost getting a little more closely knit together. But that doesn't help the 52 actually get to the 5 car, as they are really doing some battles, as Christian Barnes actually goes the wrong direction and holds up the 00 of Dustin Stallings. That helps Lewis. And they're getting fighting for the race lead once again, at least right behind the race lead. Johnny Wood had company that last lap from Mason Houseman. Here we go, side by side, Johnny Wood Jr., Zach Maddox, contact, Houseman almost into the 14 car. Front row seat to it all here with Mason Houseman. There goes Buzzio riding the Dente on the outside. That's going to bring Rogers. That's going to bring Fritz. It's going to bring Borel. Cole Lewis joining this fight. Magnus Anderson's back in this thing. This has been a fantastic race so far. And we still have a long ways to go. Fuel mileage, by the way, these guys can go around 35 laps at most in a continuous run. Of course, there's been a couple of cautions. That's going to help these guys who have stayed out. But Walsifer and Johnny Wood Jr., they have been on the racetrack the longest. 30, coming up on 31 laps on this tank of fuel. The tires aren't a huge deal. Everybody's on a different tire strategy. But these two have to pit the soonest. I would say maybe 10 more laps. So maybe around lap 90, we're due to see the 56 and 75 in the pit lane. Watch out for that if we go green to that point. But here we are, 3 wide. Buzzio down low. Wood in the middle.
Side by side going into turn number 3. Yeah, no, just having some fun over here. Some technical difficulties on my end, but on the outside of Wolsifer. Ooh. Trying his hardest to hang on to it. Richard Wolsifer down on that bottom line. Johnny Wood Jr. on the back bumper of that Project 69 car, trying to help him move forward. Sliding around though, Buzzio, Maddox, just hanging on for dear life right now.
This proves why we need ARCA back at Chicago. This is fantastic.
Still side by side for the race lead. They've been going at it for a few laps now. Adam Buzzio taking a look to the bottom underneath. Johnny Wood Jr., Stephen Borbell right behind him. And then it's Carl Pooler, Zach Maddox, Cole Lewis, Gavin Rogers, and Scott Fritz. Your top 10, little bit of contact.
There were some bumper shoves that time on the front stretch, nearly turning a couple of cars. Glad it didn't. So pit stops are coming up, tires are wearing out. And these guys, we haven't looked at the schedule graphic yet, but we're right in the middle of the regular season. There's a lot on the line as Mason Houseman doors the 56. Walsifer's not going to stand for that. And Richard gets back ahead. I don't know if Mason burped the throttle, let him go back by or what, but... Oh! Cole Lewis,
Oh,
no!
Cole Lewis!
Up and into the air, Jason Bottoms!
Jason Bottoms! And caution is out on the racetrack. Bottoms with some heavy damage to that 17 car.
Other cars are slow. Oh, Magnus Anderson involved in another one. And Jason's gonna be done. That's another another underdog out of this thing. William Maple has damage. Oh, this sucks.
And quite a few lead lap cars involved in this one. Bottom's more than likely out of this race. You see that right front disconnected. That's going to allow a lot of these guys who were involved in the last caution to get some repair work done as Jordan White just wheels it into the pit lane as best as he possibly can.
He and Lewis both a lot of damage. There's Lewis. He, I think, can continue on at least. He's putting tires on. I think he will be okay, ultimately. Might not move on in the bracket, but I think his car will make it. But, you know, back to the bracket and these underdogs we talked to. Lewis is one of them. Bottoms is one of them. We already saw the issues for Clank. He's out of the race. But for these two, trying to move forward in this bracket, this is going to be a big blow as Dustin Stallings was the car underneath. Oh my gosh. I would never have expected that to involve Dustin, and look at that. That is huge. So, they go nearly 4 wide here. Rogers down low. They end up putting Fritz down on the bottom, and Stallings is here in the middle, and they just run out of room. That's going to be a tough one for race control to have to look at. I don't know that anybody did anything wrong, particularly, but Stallings gets through that initially. Patinko gets a piece. There goes his bumper. Anderson gets a big piece. We'll watch this through for Lewis, and here comes Bottoms. He's going to ramp over the left rear of the 83. That is huge for those two cars. Jason's going to be done.
Got a feel for him. Bottoms was running really good. He kept his nose clean just about all race long, and it's not really the way you want to see your race end.
Gonna look here at Bottoms' perspective and then see what happened to the rest of the crash further down the backstretch. This is Jason Bottoms. Oh my. And now for the rest of that crash, let's go back and see it all develop again. Here's Dustin Stallings. We'll follow him through it because he kind of kicks off the other part too. So you see it's all developing. Lewis outside. They try to go 4 wide for a second, but Rogers gets ahead, so it becomes just 3. I don't even know who's at fault there on the 0052. Anderson gets into the 00. That hooks the 00 up. Maple with nowhere to go. Oh my gosh. That's a big blow for Stallings as well. That's gonna be a lot of damage, I'd say. And poor William Maple, he's gonna think he's got this thing cleared until the last second.
The seas look like they have parted, and then Stallings. Oh, man.
So a lot of damage for a lot of cars. Here we go. Restart zone. We are racing again. Everybody pitted. Everybody took foreign fuel. Green flag. Jason Bottoms is still moving. He's not completely done as Barnes is in the wall. That stacks up the outside lane. Houseman to the point. Barnes in the wall again.
Doubled up through the top 10. Buzzio to the inside of Woltifer. Trying to find a way to second. There's Bottoms down on the apron, limping that race car back to the pit lane.
That's not going to fly. I think he's just trying to get out there and make another lap or two so he scored ahead of the guys in the crash and get himself a couple extra points. I think that's all he's trying to do here.
Extra points matter so much here. Back up front, Houseman hanging on to it. Trying to point his way forward. Get that Project 69 car a win on the night.
Another car hit the pit lane. That's Dustin Stallings. Zach, you're in race chat. Is this a penalty?
I'm not too sure, to be perfectly honest. My technical difficulties are still, in a way, affecting me at the moment, but I can definitely get some information on that momentarily.
That could be a penalty for causing that caution if maybe race control felt that he did. I'm not sure. I would not want to be Rev in that position with that particular scenario. I don't know who you put it on in that case. That's almost... I hate racing incidents because it almost absolves, somebody of fault. There's always something somebody could have done differently, but that might be a racing incident between those guys that time at a turn two. Regardless, here we are on lap 90, where we initially thought we might see some cars hit the pit lane. Now, everybody's got fuel and tires again, so the count resets. They can go about 30 laps from here. That puts you at 120, so there's still 2 stops to go. It seems the Jason Bottoms
left to run.
It seems the Jason Bottoms fan club is checking out for the evening. That's unfortunate to see, but understandable, as Jason has been put through the ringer here tonight. Glad to talk to him again. It's been a little while, but man, the drivers ending up with damage or out of the race entirely are starting to stack up as Fritz makes a big move there ahead of Johnny Wood. Fritz now racing with Zach Maddox. I gotta say, this rise for Zach Maddox, and I really hope the racing gods don't make me eat my words on this one, but he has gotten so much better with this ARCA car. I think it just makes more sense to him. This has been astronomical to see him go from where he was at with the Gen 7 to where he's at with this ARCA car. It is really cool to see for Zach. He's just a good guy trying to make it here in this series. He's doing so much better. This season is night and day to what it used to be for Zach and that 14 camp. I know he's getting passed here by Borbell, but something this season is clicking for him as Borbell gets in the wall.
That 14 car is just moving up right now. Trying to do everything right tonight. And it seems to be playing in his favor so far. Rolling that middle of the top line that seems to be the quick lane for these ARCA cars tonight. Seems to be where the draft is. As Johnny Wood Jr. gets a heck of a run off of turn number 2. Gonna slot right behind Adam Buzzio. You see it all out the windshield from Maddox's perspective. All from the drivers on board.
Yeah, driver's eye POV. I love this camera so much. There's a lot you can learn from it. A lot you can see, a lot you can't see. And that almost adds to the broadcast, I think, when you can't see certain things because they pop up. It shows you what the driver is seeing, especially if they're on a single monitor setup like Zach, I believe, is. So this is pretty much what he's seeing in his sim right now. Very close to it.
Gotta love the heads-up perspective from a driver's eye POV. And we've still got so much racing left to run. I say that we've only got about 70 laps to go. but 70 laps is still a lot of racing as Adam Buzzio is trying to find a way around Richard Wolsifer.
Maddox in the wall. Rogers a shove there to Buzzio. Their teammates next level racing, hitting the bottom groove. Buzzio, Rogers, Borbell, all getting in a line down there. Can they go forward as Houseman and Wolsifer dance?
Oh, Borbell almost turned around. Scott Fritz right there. That was scary.
Everybody hangs on to it. Carl Pooler here in the top 10. That's good to see.
Brendan Maddox trying to take a stab at getting his laps back.
Brendan is still 16 laps down, and the list ahead of him is getting longer and longer with each caution. The good news, though, is he's about to pass William Maple. He just did. And he just passed Magnus Anderson. He's now 1 lap behind Cole Lewis and Jordan White. 6 laps behind Jason Bottoms. 13 behind Dustin Stallings, but Dustin's still in the race. So if this run goes for a little bit longer here, Zach, 6 or 7 laps, he's going to get 4 more spots, 3 more spots, something like that. So he will crack the top 20 if this run stays green a little bit longer and nobody gets added to that list. Or regardless, he will, I guess, as long as they don't come back out on the racetrack, I suppose.
Well, 67 laps to go. There's still a lot of racing. Oh God, 6-7.
No!
I can't get it out of my head, man. I can't. I've heard it
Big
too
move.
much.
Big move, though. Get rid of the cringe with a good battle. Richard Wolsifer to the inside of Mason Houseman. Oh my gosh, the big moves here at the front.
Almost 3 wide for second there. Houseman with some big defense.
Look at Zach Maddox to the outside of Johnny Wood. You see Wolsifer try to give some draft to his teammate. That's a 75 car. Those two are teammates, the 56 and 75. Maddox is kind of up here on his own right now. If anything, his closest alliance car would be the 69 of Houseman. This is really good. Here we go, 3 wide. Chick-fil-A on Chick-fil-A. Contact.
Through the middle.
Down the backstretch, 3 wide. Fritz helps the 56 car. Nobody helps the 14 or 75. Nearly contact there. Oh, watch out. That was close. That was almost a right hook from the 48.
Oh, they're trying. They're trying to race so hard right now, and I absolutely love it. It is so awesome to watch this racing right now. Scott Fritz trying to move around the outside. You see Rogers falling in. Borbell moves bottom. Pooler moves top. They're all on top of each other, sliding on corner entry, wiggling, trying to find some racing room.
One more lap complete. Houseman is setting sail. He's got a second on these guys. But what a battle it is for second through about 13th. Call it 11th. Second through 11th, so 10 cars in a battle right here. This is sensational racing. Buzzio up into Fritz for a moment. Pooler's in the category. And top of the show, we showed the track map as we always do. That track map still has the old note that Chicagoland is no longer on the NASCAR schedule. Well, that's changing in 2026. Chicagoland.
It's back, baby.
Oh, contact here. Maddox and Wood. Buzzio. They all flinch.
Everyone does a great job missing. Great.
Yes,
Walker slides down to the bottom. Oh, that could have gotten dicey real quick. And if you're Josh Parent or Evan Patinko, you're saying, please start trying to throw a caution because they are getting ready to go laps down to Mason Houseman. And that's going to throw off Brendan Maddox's charge to get back on the lead lap. So I would think Brendan Maddox would want to see a caution sometime soon as well.
Well, there's no way we get 16 cautions. No way we get 16 cautions to get him back in it, but certainly a caution or two might help. But back to my point, Chicagoland back on the NASCAR schedule in 2026. You can check out, of course, more details all over. And there we go. Dang it. Zach Maddox, Carl Pooler, teammates. Dang. That could not have happened to a couple of better guys. These are two good guys in the series. Teammates now over at Maverick. Crashed on the front straightaway. They'll continue, but they have damage. We saw this great racing for laps on laps. Here they are. I mentioned Maddox was kind of alone until Pooler got there, and, well...
Just ran out of racing room.
Yeah, they again, ran into one another pretty much. Pooler was up in the wall. Maddox kind of tracks out just slightly too far. And turn 4 here is deceptive on iRacing. It's not quite this way in real life, I don't think, but at least now, because in real life, the safer barrier has changed a bit. But here on iRacing, it's still the kind of like 2012 safer barrier. And it juts out a lot in turn 4 and then suddenly goes away on the front stretch. So it juts out a lot right here on exit. But you're expecting the wall to kind of fall away. So it juts out big time for just a few more feet. And it catches a lot of guys out. Because if it just didn't jut out that foot or so, they might make it through the corner without hitting the wall. In that case, it gets the 71 and the 14. Hate to see that. One more look. And again, these two should continue. They should be okay to keep going, but they will now have damage. There's the contact and just turned around. Great evasive action by everybody right behind, though.
Definitely going to end up affecting their race moving forward. You just hate to see it for two great guys trying to find some luck. Maddox and Pooler have not had recent luck with finding a victory lane, but all is still possible.
And hey,
how this racing is left to go.
We haven't checked out the pit lane much this evening. Here is Josh Parent. He's getting repairs done to the tune of 50-some seconds now. Zach Maddox just got a bunch done. There he goes. Evan Matinko on the pit lane for repairs. There's the 81. Parent fires up. He gets out of there. Dustin Stallings is 2 laps down. So I believe he is the recipient of the free pass under this yellow. I believe he was just 3 laps down, so he will move up now. I believe. I mentioned earlier the 8-car Dakota Bly also has a fast food paint scheme. If I'm missing anybody out there that has one, by all means, shout in YouTube chat. But there's the 8-car properly now of Dakota Bly. Love this. Great nod to a former Kevin Harvick paint scheme. Don't think we've missed any. I mean, there's the 23 that we haven't really looked at too much of Brennan Maddox. I don't think, Dan didn't have one. He's in the pit lane. Maple didn't have one. So I think we've seen them all. But one of them is about to come back to the green flag on the front row. I believe Houseman is technically the leader here, Zach. Regardless, we're down inside of 60 to go. It's one stop to the end from here. Everybody just top back off. Here we go. Green flag back in the air. One stop left to go. We're in the meal deal 250. Tell you what, this race has completely changed from 100 laps ago. It's still a great race, but you just don't see that immediate pack racing on the restart like we did 100 laps ago, Zach. It's definitely a lot more strung out now as the herd has now been thinned.
It has. Everyone just starting to fall into play as you see Rogers moving around the inside, or outside, excuse me, of Johnny Wood Jr. Johnny's holding in the coattails is Waltifer. Big send into turn number 3. Houseman covered it off beautifully. That 56 car will not be denied. Wolsifer wants to go after it and get himself a win here tonight at Chicago.
Brendan Maddox fastest.
Brendan Maddox.
Wow, did he gain something from that crash?
Who'd have thought? That car was crab walking earlier. Down to the inside once again, Richard Wolsifer. Now he is fully alongside that 69 car. Rogers looking topside.
Fritz is
Nothing
here.
to do
Whoa!
up top. Whoa! Big move to the inside. Gavin Rogers.
3 wide now. He's on the racetrack into turn 1. He falls back, does Rogers. Now Wolfsburg very on the inside, all the way down there on that white line. Very much paints that inside line. Houseman gonna bring Fritz. And back to the bracket brawl. All of the winners to be, I'll say, are currently in the top 10. Fritz, Wood, Buzzio, and Barnes very much look like they are all going to advance, but there's still a lot of race left, Zach, and Patinko is still in this thing. He's up against Barnes, so that could still swing the other way. Lewis is back out there, so if something happens to Buzzio, it's not over. It could still change, but right now it looks very much like these 4 will move on.
Lots of fighting still going on. 3-1 second. Wolfsburg trying to cover it off. Fritz gets clear. Takes hold of that second spot. Johnny Wood Jr. coming into the mix. The 3 wide up top. That outside line is just absolutely trucking right now. As you see, Wolfsburg starting to drop back. Wood taps the wall. Buzzio trying to get clear. Oh, Richard is just moving all around the racetrack as Barnes moves up through the field. He's to the inside of Borbell now. Henderson slides up into that middle line. Borbell taps the wall. Oh my goodness, this is getting dicey.
I'm going to say, of the bracket battles left, the only one really that could change in an instant, I think, is Barnes and Patinko. So here's the onboard with Barnes. He's up against the 81, and of course, Evan was involved in that crash in the backstretch some number of laps ago, but he's still in it. He's just nursing it around. So Barnes needs to be careful. You know, how much does he really want to race in this pack right now, knowing at any point in time a crash could happen? I guess it's up to him. Right now, he's staying in it as he runs in the 10th spot with Walker and Maddox right behind. And this fight ahead is just not dying down.
Look, racing left to run. You never know what's going to happen.
On board here with Gavin Rogers running in the 4th spot. You know, we looked at the Cody Williams design weather conditions earlier. Let's look at them again. The track temp is cooled. Ambient feels the same. The humidity has dropped a bit, Zach, but it stayed very consistent. Really, the biggest thing that's changed all race is cloud cover. It changes a little bit here and there. Sometimes we catch a cloud. Sometimes we have sun on the racetrack. That's the only big change I've seen. That the track temp is pretty much the same. It's cooled a little bit, maybe a little more grip out there, but as this run goes on, as this race goes on, more rubber builds, the track changes a bit. It really is a matter of when we get a cloud or not.
All sunny skies at the front of the field, I'll tell you that. Johnny Wood Jr.'s moved himself up into 3rd now. We're mostly single file racing now, so everything's just kind of filtering out. I say that. Johnny Wood Jr. takes a big look to the inside on Scott Fritz.
That's a look worth taking. Johnny Wood Jr. had 2nd for a moment. These are your 2 short track winners so far this season. Houseman, your lone road course winner so far. Rogers has the win. Oh gosh, where was it that he won? I can't recall. It was Charlotte, that's where it was. So he is the only driver to win on an intermediate so far. So a lot of winners up front, I will say. In a season where it's been all single digits so far in the win column, we might see a 2 for the first time tonight because we've got a lot of one-time winners in the front right now. It was Houseman at Long Beach, Fritz at Wilkesboro, Wood at Richmond, and Rogers back at Charlotte. The other 2 races this season were won by Brendan Maddox at Nashville and Dustin Stallings at Daytona. Great battle though for second right now.
Side by side down into turn 3. Just over 40 laps to go, so we've still got a lot of time to make something happen. Make some hay, as they like to say. You see Stallings cooking by the flag stand as the leaders roll up on him. So a lap car could play a factor here, and you hate to see it for Dustin Stallings. He's led 10 laps on the day. He was up running there. Now he's sitting in the 19th position, currently a few laps down. You hate to see it. He had such a good night going. Now he's got to ride around just inside that top 20, trying to hang on to what is at the moment 3 laps down.
He's very close to going a 4th lap down. Watch out as the leaders approach. Car 69, most recent winner in this series here at Chicagoland Speedway. That came back in season 3. But then Mason spent a season away from the race car, getting through basic training for the Air Force. He comes back here in season 5 on a part-time basis. He and Gavin Rogers bushwhacking tonight. They are now your top 2 as they cross the stripe in 1st and 2nd. We haven't seen a whole lot of them racing each other yet this season because they've kind of staggered when they've run, or when they have run together, one has had problems. But right now, we are gearing up for a battle of BRB greats. Houseman, Rogers, top 2. And all 4, let's see if I can set this camera up. Yeah, all 4 BRB championships. Well, hang on, wait for it. All 4 BRB championships are on the same screen right now. Look at that. Houseman with seasons 2 and 3, Stallings with season 4, and Rogers just behind with season 1. That's cool.
Out of camera shot.
That's kind of cool, I suppose. 40 laps to go, and of course Stallings is laps down, but all 4 championships right together. Well, I keep talking about this schedule graphic. It looks like the racing has calmed down slightly. Let's go ahead and show it. Haven't yet shown it yet this evening, and here we go. Race 7, Chicagoland. This is smack in the middle of the regular season. This is the halfway point, tonight's race. From here, it's the downhill battle. Through Pocono in California here in 2025, then 4 races in 2026, those being Las Vegas, Kentucky, Darlington, and Atlanta. I keep saying it, Zach, every time we look at this graphic, it's a very intermediate heavy mid-season. We haven't seen many intermediates, but this is the beginning of these bigger racetracks for these cars. What we see tonight is a precursor of the next 6 weeks.
You're going straight from 1.5 miles, a big aero-dependent track, to Pocono. I mean, that's also a big aero-dependent track. You're going really to a lot of aero-dependent tracks, because Pocono, you're going to be dropping down the straightaways a lot, trying to make sure you've got the clean air through the tunnel turn, and quite frankly, all 3 corners. California is a big aero-dependent track. Vegas, Kentucky, 2 more 1.5 miles. Then you've got Darlington. Darlington is so touchy in these race cars. And then you've got Atlanta. Atlanta is such an amazing track, whether they're using the old layout or the new layout. They're going to have their work cut out for them over these next few races.
And then we're keeping that theme with Michigan, another big speedway. Then it's back to a road course, Watkins Glen. A super speedway, Talladega. Kind of a short track at Phoenix. And then back to intermediates at Miami. So it's going to be a lot of the same style of racing the next 6 weeks until Atlanta. Then things take a brief shift. And that's kind of the beginning of the chaos once again in the schedule, where it's just a lot of different kinds of racetracks right there at the end. But that's a look at what's upcoming, really the whole season for this BRB Sundance Pro Series in the first season of this new naming convention as well, being the Pro Series. It used to be the BRB Cup Series, now it's the BRB Sundance Pro Series. New partner on board, I mean, long-time partner. I can hardly say new partner. And let's give a nod to all the partners with this series. Of course, Sundance Pizza, Sundance Trucks, Ideal Lease, KC Athletics, RevSimShop.com, Performance Food Group, Whiplash SimCams, CC's Business, and MX Wraps. Josh Parrott going a lap down. It's taken a while, but he has finally fallen victim here to the leaders. And that holds up Dustin Stallings and clears the 00 out of the way of these leaders, at least some of them. There's a battle here. Wolsifer and Buzzio.
Side by side, heading down into turn number 1. There you see Joshua Parent going 1 lap down, trying to stay out of the way of the leaders. And Buzzio is going to take that look to the inside of the 22. Close up on the 48 of Scott Fritz.
Of course, Scott is finally a BRB Sundance Pro Series winner. Sorry to cut you off, but I think it's worth mentioning. He finally got the monkey off his back last time out at North Wilkesboro Speedway. It's been a long time coming. Keeps getting better and better through these races, and winning stages a lot this season. Finally got a win, a big checkered flag, and I think it meant a lot to him last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago at North Wilkesboro. But as you were saying.
I was going to say, it looks like Stallings did end up getting a penalty. That's why we saw him head down to the pit lane all those laps ago for the incident on lap 82. And then the other thing I was going to say is Buzzio, we've seen him kind of rally back a little bit this race. Adam's been a little bit, I don't want to say touchy in terms of race starts, but himself and Stephen Borbell stepped away to do some more active race control duties for a little while, and then they decided to step back in the race car full-time for this season. And he's definitely showing that he hasn't exactly lost his touch. He's been consistent with 1 win a season, hasn't won yet this season, but keyword being yet on that for the number 5 car. And I think Adam is definitely a surefire lock going into the chase. He's rallied the points, he's just got to keep it up. As Carl Pooler, looks like he's getting a little impatient getting boxed in right there.
Carl Pooler, I believe, the only driver in this series out of Colorado. I'm surprised he doesn't have some kind of paint scheme with some kind of fast food. I know the West Coast has some of their own chains, but here we go. Battle for the race lead between a couple of BRB champions and greats. The first 3 championships in this series right here, the battle for first and second. Rogers and Houseman. Houseman leads. Rogers wants it. Johnny Wood is here. He's going to play spoiler, maybe. He gets a run.
Big step up on the outside line for Johnny. He's got Stallings right behind him. Stallings being the lap car, he's a bit of a devil's advocate here. You've got two Toyotas, 2 Fords, and a Chevy duking it out.
You know what,
Top
Zach?
4 on the lead lap.
Whole different topic. I think if you're in this battle, pit now. Hit pit lane. This field has been thinned big time. We've had some big crashes. It looks like we might go green. Pit. Take a risk. Especially if you need the points, try it. You're never going to beat these guys doing the same exact thing they're doing. So especially if you're a Fritz, a Buzzio, a Wolsifer, pit. Get out of this. Get new tires. Start to run some laps again. Maybe make sure you have a teammate do it with you so you can draft.
Buzzio pitting this time. Adam Buzzio's hitting the pit lane.
There you go.
Looks like he heard your advice, Andrew, and honestly, it's perfect for that 5 car. He was all by himself. He had managed to get a gap to Richard Wolsifer, so now he's kind of in a position where he has the ability to dictate his race. He's not dependent on a drafting partner. So that 5 car setting himself up for the end of the race. Mason Houseman has just alerted to race control. He will be taking it to the pit lane this time by.
Yep. Get the undercut, get new tires on, go back on the racetrack, start turning some big laps again. Here they all come. You are in the pit
Top
window.
4.
Go ahead and pit. They're all coming. Look at this. Buzzio is one to watch. Way out there. Zach Maddox nearly missed pit lane. But all the leaders just pitted. Tim Henderson stays out. I mean, he was a non-factor at this point. Henderson, Dyer, Barnes, they stay out. Bly stays out. Patinko stays out. Moyer stays out, but everybody else comes in.
Watching and waiting to see if any drivers end up getting black flags or penalties for improper pitting in any way, shape, or form. Nothing going on. Cole Lewis is out of the pit lane.
Here we go, right here.
Gavin Rogers.
Race back on, the 77, 75. Where's the 5 car? Where is Buzzy? He's starting to pass him. There he is. He's going to pass.
Rolling off.
He's going to pass a handful. He's going to pass. There goes the 56. He just passed Wolfsberg. There's Houseman. He's going to launch well past Houseman. I think it was a 2-tire. Yes, 2-tire stop for Wood and for Rogers. 2-tire stop for these two. They get out ahead. Wood has the lead. Horbell, I think, with a 2-tire as well. Bosio took 2. Houseman took 4.
It's going to be a hard call. That's going to be a really hard call on this one because there are so many different factors that 2 tires could play, and now you've got drivers on 4 tires chasing you down. This could really throw a wrench into a lot of people's races right now.
Take the risk. You got to try. I love this. The top 4, when this cycles out again, Patinko now in the pit lane. He's got an injured car, but between Wood, Rogers, Borbell, and Buzzio, I love that they took the risk. Change things up, get those 2 tires on, have the track position. It looks like Hausman might pass Buzzio back here, so Buzzio might not gain too much. But if this goes green to the end, it's going to be a much easier race for Buzzio, I think. He's got a lot of gap back to those guys behind him. We'll see how it shakes out in 20 or so laps, but right now, I like the move. Let's see how it works out as Dakota Bly hits the pit lane. Christian Barnes hits the pit lane.
Barnes is out and away.
Henderson and Moyer, they're in. Johnny Wood Jr. this time around will cycle to the race lead. He's out ahead of Gavin Rogers by about a half second.
Everything's pretty much cycled out as we expected it to. No real big change to the guard other than Houseman and Buzzio a little bit further down the running order. These are lap times compared. Johnny Wood Jr. and Gavin Rogers. Rogers still a little bit quicker. Rogers actually ran his fastest lap of the race that last time by. Stalling, big move to the pit lane. That threw off a little bit for Johnny Wood Jr. Well, that 75 car still leading nice and clear as they rolled past the line. Rogers was a 10th quicker that last time by. This race is far from over. 20 laps to go when we get back to the line. And Andrew, it's about that time of the race where we start thinking about driver of the day, NARL driver of the day. What are you thinking about so far?
Hold on. So we're going to take a look at all 4 here of your top 4. Lap times compared for all of them. And there's a method to this madness. I know it looks like a lot of data, but look at Houseman, bottom right of these 4. Last lap was faster than all 3 ahead. It wasn't that much last time, admittedly. It wasn't a huge chunk that last lap, but all he needs to do is keep working on it. He's within 2 seconds. All he needs to do is keep chipping away. He's got 20 laps to do it. He's got time. Just keep chipping away at these guys. Couple of tenths here, couple of tenths there, and he can get there. That last lap there, he was a 10th quicker than all of them. So that, I mean, even there, he should be able to catch them, but it will be, right at the end. If he can put up a couple laps where he gains a couple of tenths each, that would be huge. Give him a little more time to start fighting. I think the 4 tires can prevail, but he's going to have to be very, very, very punctual. He's going to have to be perfect almost these last few laps. So that does influence a little bit maybe who you might want to take for driver of the day, but it is that time. Let's bring up positions gained as well to see who's moved through the field. I mean, Borbell immediately stands out, 13 positions gained. Sam Dyer, 19 spots. Johnny Wood up 7 spots. Carl Pooler up 9. Some big moves to consider there.
Absolutely. So many great races going on throughout the field. I'm a big fan of a lot of the moves we've seen so far this race. You know, if I had to start taking picture real quick, I would at least have to put Sam Dyer on that list. 19 positions up on the day. He's up inside the top 10. He's benefited a lot. His strategy seems to be more caution on the speedway.
It's Gray Walker. Gray Walker and Brendan Maddox.
Brendan Maddox.
And everything has changed. This is why I was apprehensive to get to driver of the day. It had one of those feelings.
Call it a gut call.
Caution's out. Everything's changed. If you have a set left, now's the time. Do not delay. Do not try to wait on another caution. If you have a set laying, this is the time to take it.
And Brendan Maddox, some damage on that one. Gray Walker has a hit for repair flag, meatball flag on the 18 car.
Now, recall here, at this point, Maddox is 16 laps down. So, you know, Walker's fighting for a top 10. Maddox is laps down. Let's see what happens here.
Ooh. And Zach Maddox got a piece of that as well. Gray Walker has taken his car out of the race completely.
I work very closely with Brendan. I have a great respect for him as a human being, let alone as a race car driver, but right here, 16 laps down, there's no need to be on a lead lap driver's bumper. You're not racing anybody, lift. I think just... I really hope it can be received as constructive, because all this is just constructive criticism here. You're not racing anybody, not actively enough to be on somebody's bumper. You're 6 laps ahead of Cole Lewis, 12 laps behind Dustin Stallings. This didn't need to happen. That's all I'm going to say. Now, it's certainly not intentional. I mean, there's no way. These are two teams that work together. There's no way Brendan meant to go in there and clean the 18 out. But for the scope of Gray's race and just everybody's race, you know, this just didn't need to happen. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say there, Zach.
I don't think there's really too much to it. I feel like that's a pretty straightforward incident.
Obviously not intentional, but I think just recognizing when you're 16 laps down, I think would help everybody in that case. Again, Brendan obviously did not mean to do that. Brendan's, I'm sure, going to be very apologetic, but end of the day, Brendan did turn the 18. So, I hate that. It's guys we like, guys we associate with, guys we work with now, you know, getting in that incident. But let's go ahead, while these guys gear up for a restart, Zach, let's bring up positions gained again and see kind of who's where for this restart, because a lot of these guys I don't think have tires left. The top 8 all just stayed out.
That's what I was talking about earlier on in the race. Take tires too early and just end up not giving yourself that advantage towards the end of the show.
I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's each make a selection now, so we can make a faster selection under green. So go ahead, make your first selection. Let's each do one now. I think that's easy to do.
I'm going to take my first pick, which was Sam Dyer. He's moved up quite a few spots through the field.
I'm going to take Stephen Borbell. Currently up 13 spots. That's huge. He had a terrible week at Wilkesboro. He was on our Who You Got post earlier. He's top 5 in points, still winless. Could change that here tonight. Let's see. Restart zone coming up. Who's going to take it? The Meal Deal 250 back green here at Chicagoland Speedway. 13 laps to go. 3 wide, second place. Borbell, Rogers, Houseman. Throw Buzzio into that. Walsifer in the wall big time.
Right in the wall, trying to keep it rolling. 3 wide. Wolsifer top side. He's going to almost get into Scott Frith.
Whoa.
Oh, it's spinning. They're wrecking behind.
That was the 88. That was Henderson. Down through the grass. He's around. Caution. What just happened here?
Don't know. Saw a bumper fly off somebody's nose. Henderson's gonna rip up the rear tires. Getting back going.
Hope he's got a set left. Oh my gosh. Well, that was a preview of it. Let's go back a little further and see how it started. So, here to the corner, watch the 14. That's red and white car outside lane. Sam Dyer kind of feeds him a right rear, and that gets him tight up into the wall. So Maddox checks up, and Patinko ultimately, I think, causes this technically, Zach, because he tries to come down to miss the 14. Henderson is there. Man, I hate these.
They're tough calls. They are very, very tough calls.
I'm glad I don't have to ultimately call the incident and issue the penalty, but I think ultimately Patinko flinching here for the 14, yeah, that's what causes this. I mean, he's just trying to be safe. He's just trying to give Zach room, but end of the day, you can see all the room there was, and when you boil it down, frankly, Evan came down into Tim.
And Race Control sees that incident in that discretion, and they have handed down the penalty to Evan Patinko.
I mean, yeah, it's for a good reason. You know, it's an abundance of caution on Evan's part, but unfortunately, you see the results of that. You know, it shears off his own bumper and spins around the 88, brings out the caution. So it's just tough. It really is. When you get down to it like these, you're racing so closely together. Well, with the number of laps left now being 10 and counting, let's go ahead, Zach. Let's make our other 2 selections. Who you got? Driver of the day. We've already taken Sam Dyer and Stephen Borbell. Let's bring this back up and hit positions gained. Borbell's now up 14, so that's cool. That pads his number a bit. Sam Dyer up 19 as it stands. I mean, Fritz is worth looking at. Waiting for this to cycle back around to 11 through 20th to see who's kind of moving around there. But who do you got, Zach? Other pick.
I gotta take Adam Buzzio. Honestly, he's really impressed me so far. I think he's got a good shot at it as we close out the waiting stages of this race. But let's just keep in mind, we've got 9 laps to go at the line. 9 to go. 19 minutes remaining on the clock.
I'm going to make a bit of a personal second pick. It's going to be a driver who has a ton of damage still, but frankly could have quit 100 laps ago. Front stretch crash, right? It was front stretch, wasn't it? Back stretch? I don't know. It all blends together 157 laps deep. But my point is, Josh was involved in a big crash 100 or so laps ago, and frankly could have quit. I know he has been, not to dish too much personally on what he's been going through, but he's wanted to quit a couple of times. You know, he's been in the face of a lot of really bad luck here in this series. Crash after crash that's not his doing. He's continued. He has stuck through it tonight, and I appreciate that about him. He's 15th. Not the greatest run, admittedly. Not the greatest, result, especially when he started 5th, but he is sticking in it. He has a chance, if these cautions keep up, Zach, he could still top 10. You know, he's technically still in this just as much as anybody else right now. So I'm going to give Josh a nod for driver of the day for sticking in it when he could have quit 100 or so laps ago. I admire that about anybody who sticks it out like that and keeps going. There's multiple drivers doing that here tonight, so a nod there to Josh Parent. Here we go, green flag. About, 8 laps to go? We're back racing. Sam Dyer, what is going on that restart? He hangs on, but they are all over.
In the wall back there, hanging on to it. Johnny Wood Jr. is just defending for his life right now. Gavin Rogers to the inside of Borbell. Mason Houseman right behind him. Everything is still topsy-turvy all over this racetrack. We've still got 7 laps to go. Count them, 7 to go, ladies and gentlemen. And it's far from over. Henderson with a big wiggle. 3 wide behind him. Wolsterfer's in the middle. Everyone's all over the racetrack.
Gavin Rogers moving up. Best tires here in this fight going to be Tim Henderson, 8 laps ago. Christian Barnes also pitted 8 laps ago. They have a slight advantage, 12 laps or so on the rest of these guys. We'll see if it pays off. Fastest lap, Sam Dyer. Hello. Whoa, in the wall. Car 56. He just tore the fence down. Buzzio, Fritz, Pooler, and Barnes battling here. Henderson there as well. Single file ahead of them, though. And look who's moving up. He was on the Who You Got post earlier today, Stephen Borbell. He's got a really good shot. 5 laps to go. Top 5 in points. Still winless. He's looking to change that. Rogers trying to help him.
Wood trying to break the toe. 4 laps to go at the line. Caution is out once again.
Oh, Carl Pooler.
They have Dyer in the wall as well.
And he's done.
Oh, that's some big damage to the 35 car.
You don't see this a lot for Sam. He's now a part-timer, made the chase last season. You just don't see him in these incidents a lot. He usually sits back behind them, but in this case, was doing nothing wrong. Just ran smack in the 71 car. So what happened to the 71 of Pooler?
You see Buzzio and Fritz fighting right in front of them. Oh, Buzzio might have just come up a little bit there. It's really hard to tell from the camera angle, and Dyer just shot through it and put himself straight into the wall.
Well, Dyer caught the back end of the 71, but let's see here. Yeah, I mean, Adam's just trying to get on his left rear and side draft a bit. That's just a miscalculation. That's really all that is. You see it here again. Adam just miscalculates. That's going to be big, you know. That's a driver needing some points. Top 10 now in power rankings. Trying to move up there in the point standings in Buzzio. You know, not just for Pooler. Pooler's had a pretty good season so far. You know, we look at the standings here. Pooler is actually below Buzzio. I'm surprised. So that hurts both of them. For Pooler to be 10th in the standings and have this spin late, that's a big hit. But Buzzio, I would suspect, will have to go to the rear on this restart. And he had a really good run going all race long. And that's going to be torn down, I would think, here with this caution. We are, as well, Zach, approaching that dreaded mark of 2 hours. We have 14 minutes to go. We should be okay, right? We have 2 laps to go, technically, when we come back around. It will be extended for our first green-white checkered, it looks like. So we'll get into that in a second. But we are technically approaching that time limit. We could hit it.
We're getting there. Inching ever so closer. This race is still, really, in a sense, far from over. As, you know, pace car is going to click by the flag stand here. Johnny Wood Jr. is going to take that bottom line. And the race will be extended for a green-white checkered finish. Let's bring up those overtime rules, Andrew. That all but dreaded overtime. It's 2 laps. Going straight green, take a green lap, and then you go around, take the white flag on the white lap, and then the checkered flag if the green flag lap is completed, and we do see the white flag come out. The race will be completed no matter what. They will race back to the start-finish line. If we do not get to the white flag before the caution flag comes out, then the attempt will start over again for a green-white checker. And if all attempts are used, a caution will end the race if we do not see the white flag. There are so many variables that could play into more attempts at overtime, but Andrew, I am perfectly content with one, maybe two, just to see where these guys are going to fall in. Johnny Wood Jr. is more than likely fighting for his life right now, just trying to make sure he times this restart perfectly and keeps that defense up that he has been doing all race long.
Tell you what, I do not want to have to hit that time remaining button again. I hope this ends right here, right now. 2 laps to go. Green, white, checkered. Overtime racing at Chicagoland Speedway. Can we settle it? Do we need another? We're going to need another.
Bruno! He's
Four
going
ball.
out in front of the field. Big hit. Tim Henderson with the hood up.
Orbell and Henderson out.
Oh my goodness. You better hit that time remaining button because now it's getting dicey.
At this point, I don't know how Johnny Wood Jr. loses. We'll see. Well, we'll give it some time, obviously, but man, these restarts, they're going to help the leader every single time unless the leader crashes. Let's see, though. Let's go back and see what happened into turn 1 on this restart. Watch the 69. He goes middle. I don't know. I mean, it's heads up for a win, but I don't know.
It's rough. I can tell you for certain that Mason Houseman has already made his case to Race Control that he will be taking responsibility. Hearing from Race Control now, and it looks like they will be taking Mason Houseman and throwing him to the end of the longest line. Stephen Borbell's out of the race.
Fritz
Tim
took a big
Henderson
hit.
out of the race.
I just hate this for the whole field, right? We had a couple incidents, big incidents throughout the race. That's kind of normal. That helps build the drama, the storylines. That's almost healthy for a race to have an incident or two. But this, I don't know. I just hate it. I guess what I'm trying to say, Zach, is I hate that we're coming down to the end of this race with green, white checkers, great drivers being taken out, and kind of a sour taste left in our mouth. Because let's back up. Let's look at this race before these last 15 laps. Fantastic. It had everything. Everything. Anything you could want. And the last 15 laps have just kind of been a not too great aftertaste. Like we just had Thanksgiving. It's like when you know the leftovers have sat in the fridge one too many days, and you maybe shouldn't have had them. It was great when it was warm. As soon as it started to cool down, you know, that aftertaste, maybe not. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I think as a league, everything was looking really, really good until about lap 150. That said, I don't want to get too far down in the dumps. Let's bring it back here, Zach. What do we have? We have an overtime restart. Those are always fun. I know they can be painful, but they're fun. And frankly, we have some interesting players up front. Johnny Wood, Scott Fritz, they're of course trying to get their second wins on the season. Really, the whole top four is trying to get their second one on the season. But then you have some players back in row 3. I don't know if they can get there for the win, Zach, but they can mix things up throughout the top 5. Barnes, Buzzio, Wolsifer, Pooler. Just gotta wait and see how this one boils down. Green flag coming. 2 laps to go. Overtime restart number 2. We are back green. Let's see. Do we get one more?
Got into turn 1. Look at how small the field has gotten. This is just insane. Rogers looking topside on Scott Fritz, trying to see where he can go with that race car.
Houseman's out of here. Fritz has a run. Barnes is in this. Wolsifer, Pooler's up here. Patinko. Evan Patinko into 7th. He's up against Barnes for the bracket. White flag. 1 to go. Brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams.
4 bracket contenders inside the top 10. Patinko down low, running with Wolsifer. But it's all Johnny Wood Jr. out in front. There's contact for the second spot. Who's going to get it? The bracket brawl is on the line.
Johnny Wood Jr. is going to power away to win the Meal Deal 250. Evan Patinko is going to come up short. He will not advance over Barnes. Johnny Wood Jr. wins a second race in season number 5. There's car 75. Christian Barnes, P2 to advance. Scott Fritz will advance. Adam Buzzio will advance. And Johnny Wood Jr. will advance. That sends Patinko packing. That sends Lewis Bottoms Clank packing. And we have got a wild bracket brawl setting up for Pocono. And Johnny Wood Jr. might just be the top of the series heading to Pennsylvania next week.
What an absolute heater of a finish. Everything just turning up and down. What a race. How about some recovery drives, though? Let's think about that for a minute. You've got Evan Patinko, who was involved in a number of cautions. He gets up into 7th from starting 20th. Dakota Bly started 31st. He finishes 8th. You have Cody Dorsey, who started 30th. He ends up 9th. Robert Moyer Jr. ends up 10th after starting 29th. Joshua Parrott recovers to an 11th place finish. Just wow.
Bly was nearly one of my driver of the day picks because of the run he was having, just kind of sinking around the back. And
honestly, same.
Yeah, he was in the conversation, at least in my mind, for sure. Patinko, I also very much considered the 81, but just for the sheer amount of damage that Josh had at one point, for him to stay in this and finish 11th, that is huge.
It's going to do wonders for the chase. The chase is going to really shake up after tonight.
Again. Well-deserved burnouts, I can say that much for Johnny Wood Jr. Let's look at the stat line from the evening. 27 laps led. I mean, that doesn't really tell the whole story. He was in the conversation most of the night. Always kind of lurks around in these races. Always fun to watch. Well, let's take a look then at your unofficial race results here in the Meal Deal 250. As we know at least that Johnny Wood Jr. is the winner. And everybody else finished somewhere behind. Let's take a look here. Unofficial race results. Johnny Wood Jr. with the race win. 27 laps led. Second place goes to Christian Barnes. And that kind of came out of nowhere, Zach. I don't know what even led to that, but I mean, that's great for Christian, obviously. Very cool to see for him. Personally, I hate that for Evan. Evan bolted on what looks to be 4 tires there with 7 laps to go in this race. He and Pooler both, it seems, took some repairs at least, if not also tires, and came back through the field big time. And man, what could have been for Evan Patinko? He will fall, though, to Christian Barnes. So it's Wood moving on, Barnes moving on. Then Rogers and Pooler finish 3rd and 4th. Fritz will move on. He eliminates Clank. Wolsifer finishes 6th. Patinko 7th. top 10s all around for some really cool drivers here. Dakota Bly, Cody Dorsey, and Robert Warrior Jr. all taking a top 10 tonight, Zach.
Absolutely. And then rolling through the rest of the field, you've got Josh Parent ending up in the 11th spot. What a comeback drive for that 22 car to hang on to it, fix what was apparently, to my knowledge, 9 minutes of damage. Didn't get all of it fixed, but put himself in a position to get a hold of that 11th place spot. Adam Buzzio right behind him in that 12th position after having to pit and serve a black flag on that last restart. He actually had it from the previous restart as well. Didn't get the chance to serve it, so had to serve it again. Mason Houseman ends up right behind him by about 1/10 of a second, and then your first car off the lead lap is Stephen Borbell after that incident that brought out that final caution. Dustin Stallings right behind him, 3 laps down, and then it's Tim Henderson, 5 down, Zach Maddox, then Sam Dyer, Brendan Maddox, and Gray Walker rounding out your top 20 positions on the night.
Moving on to 21st spot, how about driver number 52, Cole Lewis? Man, Lewis and Bottoms both, Cole and Jason both. Feel good stories at the beginning of the night, right? You know, they're punching above their weight class. They're in a position to try and take down a couple of big drivers. You know, for Lewis would have been Buzzio, for Bottoms would have been Wood, but man, unfortunately both out early. Jordan White led some laps early, ends up 23rd. William Maple, nothing he could have done in his crash. Same for Magnus Anderson. Anthony DeSeo out early in that incident with Joshua Parent. And you see ultimately the effect of that. DeSeo called it a day at 26th. That's about where Parent would have been, Zach. So that's cool. That's why I wanted to nominate Josh for driver of the day, and I hope people consider that as they still have some time to vote. I mean, he could have finished back there 26th, 27th, something like that. I mean, Hall was in that crash, right? If memory serves correct, Hall and Rafferty. So he even could have been back there in 28th. But he stayed in it. He finished 11th. That's 17 spots potentially. That is big. Not just as in the scope of tonight's race, but also in the chase for Josh Parent. That is huge. So definitely, I think that's worthy of a driver of the day mention at the very least for Josh Parent, if not the nomination that I gave him. You see Coulter Clark wraps up your top 31 car left off here. That is going to be Kyle Klenk there in 31st. That does it as far as on-track activity, of course, for the evening, but let's take a look. Well, let's talk to some drivers here, Zach. We've got, of course, race winner Johnny Wood Jr., second win on the season. You're the first to multiple tallies in that win column. How good does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good after the past few weeks missing out on the road course. I was kind of curious about these things on the road course.
Well, how about these things on intermediates? We've seen now a couple of wild races between Charlotte and Chicago, and even Nashville, if you want to count Nashville in that category. These cars are crazy on these intermediates. I think there's some aspects and maybe some things that can transfer from the Gen 7, but these are still a whole different story.
Yeah, these things aero wash really bad. This is a good example. I'm sure Kansas might be similar if we go there. As you could tell, it took a little bit of teamwork there about midways through the race to stay up front. Me and Richard was playing some games and trying to keep us both up front, and it was kind of working. Keep track position to where we could take 2 and take the lead, and that was kind of the plan. Luckily, it worked out. I didn't like the cautions, but in the end, they helped me.
So you're, of course, the first to 2 wins. That's big, and this is going to help you big time in the standings, power rankings, all that good stuff. And, of course, the bracket. I'm not entirely sure who you're up against next week at Pocono yet. I'm sure that'll be, figured out very shortly. But this bracket, Pocono, how do you feel about it?
If it was in the next gen, I would be super ultra confident because I love downshifting into the next gen with all that. We're not doing that here. I'm afraid that next week might be a bunch of spins, getting into the left rears because of the runs that you accumulate down the straightaways here, and not too many people want to kind of fall in line and just push. I think they may want to take it 2, 3, 4 wide. So I had to cough there, but it should be pretty interesting. I'm more glad about the bracket than anything. I'm glad I was able to move on. Next week it'll be a little bit more tougher. I think those two were pretty stout drivers. So Scott Fritz.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like Scott. So I mean, regardless whether it was Scott or Kyle, it was going to be, I think, a challenge next week. But now that we know it should be Scott, does that change anything as far as your preparation, or is it still just keep moving forward?
Yeah, keep moving forward. I would say key number one is just get points. And then the bracket, depending on where we're at, then we might switch to the bracket if I'm not running up front. But, maybe Fritz is, maybe battling in the back. They won't just switch to the winning the bracket somehow. So it does make it pretty interesting. I like the dynamic of the bracket.
There you go, Johnny Wood Jr. with a big one here at Chicagoland. The meal deal 250 goes your way. Go enjoy some fast food, maybe. I mean, I guess the question of the night is, do you want fries with that?
Is that for? Yeah, I'll take fries, ketchup.
Fair enough. Well, Johnny, good to talk to you. Congratulations. Hopefully we'll talk to you next week in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out Justin Wood. He's overseas. Shout out, brother.
That's Johnny Wood Jr. with a win here at Chicagoland Speedway. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you good? I said, oh yeah.
Johnny, good to talk to you once again. We'll see you next week at Pocono.
Oh yeah, thank you.
That's your race winner here at Chicagoland Speedway. On down to second place, Zach. That's going to be Christian Barnes. I'd imagine he's feeling pretty good.
I would think so. Second fell to the fries, but a milkshake still sounds pretty good when you're sitting in second place. Moving on in the bracket brawl, beating out Evan Patinko by about 0.4 of a second when coming to the checker flag. Christian, you slapped on 4 tires, you got yourself in position at the end of the race. You came up 1 spot short, but how's it feel getting out of here alive, realistically?
Honestly, the fact that I was able to get a podium was honestly crazy. I mean, there was way too many close calls. Man, yeah. I mean, a podium is on. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I could ask for much more. I mean, yeah, as much as I want the win, I mean, just the fact that, like you said, that I survived is honestly the best thing.
Absolutely, and you actually got a piece of that incident with Stephen Borbell there at the end that set up that final restart. Do you think that had anything to play with how you launched off with trying to catch Johnny there at the end, or do you think maybe you just got a small piece, didn't do too much, and maybe there was something you could have done just a little differently to get yourself into that final position there at the end?
Yeah, honestly, surprisingly, with even, I did get into it, but somehow I came out with no damage, which I was honestly surprised about, because the moment that I was involved, I was like, really upset, and then I had somebody look at the damage for me, and they said I had nothing, and I was like, wow. So I didn't have any damage going into that restart. I was able to get to second, but I unfortunately just overdrove turn 1 and 2. I saw the lead right there and just pushed a little bit too hard and just gave up the bottom and let Gavin get back to me. But overall, I was able to at least hold on to second. But just something to work forward or work on. I also lost the race at Charlotte by overdriving one of the final corners, so just gotta keep my nerves in check and just keep working at it, and hopefully a win will come to me.
Fast food and fast cars all over the Chicagoland racetrack, and you still come home with a second place finish. It's going to help your points total, and I'm sure you're looking forward to the chase shaping up here in the next 6 races or so. Congratulations on your second place finish, and we look forward to seeing you try to rip it one more time and get another win at Pocono.
100%. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's Christian Barnes, your second place finisher. I'm sure he's looking forward to everything to come in the next few races. And Andrew, we have got third place standing by, and ready to speak with you, Mr. Gavin Rogers.
And Gavin Rogers takes a well-earned third place. I'm sure, Gavin, you would have liked for it to be a couple of spots higher, but take us through that race for you. Of course, the early battling there with Jourdain, the stage early on, and then just everything building, some green flag racing and some cautions. What was it like behind the wheel?
Yeah, the race was very mid, I guess is the good word for me tonight. I was I don't necessarily want to call it an off night, but I just didn't really have it figured out. I guess that's what happens when you don't put really any laps up until the race. I seen everybody in the food place cars. I'm like, darn, it's kind of sad to not see a Sundance pizza car out there. So I'm like, I'm a race. And I joined, got like just a couple laps into practice. I'm like, okay, I got somewhat of a feel for it. I got the pole somehow. Still can't really figure out how I did that. And then as soon as the race started, I just lost a ton of spots and was kind of hanging in mid the front pack the whole race. Just got some good track position kind of towards the end there, and then I got to Mason sort of before the green flag pit stops. I got a good pit entry. He took 4. Me and a few other guys took 2. It was me, Steven, and Johnny that were all together in a pack that pitted on that lap, and it seemed like we would have had it if it went green because Mason was kind of stuck around 2 seconds, 1.7 seconds behind us that whole run. But the caution came out, kind of screwed everything up, and man, I really felt like I would have had somewhat of a run on Johnny. I knew he was a lot better than me on the long run, but I feel like if I could have kind of just raced him a little bit harder, he would have burned his stuff up. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And I mean, nothing against him. He got a great win. He had plenty of speed tonight. I think he was definitely faster than me. And yeah, good win on Johnny.
And I don't recall seeing you in practice until very late, if at all. Suddenly you come in and qualify first. Was there a plan to run before that, or did I miss you in practice? What's going on there?
No, I was. I kind of just got on the sim about half an hour before the race started, and I joined the session as a spectator. And I was like, darn, everybody's got these food sponsored cars. I'm like, there's no Sundance pizza car. So, I had to put a Sundance pizza car out there. We got the league sponsorship with Sundance, so it's only right to have at least someone with the car out there, and it had to be me. So glad I could represent, sort of. Wish it would have been a win for sure, but I'll take a podium after how the race went tonight for me.
And hey, tell us about Sundance a little bit. I know, we mentioned, of course, the series is sponsored by Sundance. We love Sundance Pizza, all that. But like, for example, of course, you work there. It's your family's company. But if you're gonna make yourself a pie, what do you throw on there? Like, what is the specialty at Sundance Pizza?
Yeah. So I'm more so of a plain person as far as pizza goes. I'm kind of picky as far as it goes with all the veggies and meats, but lately me and some of my coworkers have found some hot honey, and that stuff goes really good on a pepperoni pizza. It's not really a menu item thing yet, but we've been rocking a hot honey pepperoni pizza, and that's been the thing lately.
There you go, some hot honey on pepperoni. I like the sound of that. Gavin, good to talk to you as always. Congratulations on a pretty solid night. I know it was a little bit up and down, but very competitive. Good to see you out there.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's Gavin Rogers with another solid finish here in the BRB Sundance Pro Series. Hot honey on pepperoni. I know that's becoming more popular, Zach. I personally, I don't know if that's going to be my go-to. I've tried, I know Papa John's had a hot honey sauce there for a little bit, and that was pretty good. So I'd imagine Sundance Pizza, I'm sure, is even better. But yeah, I got to get out to Arizona again and try some Sundance Pizza at some point. But keep hearing these.
Man, I just like extra cheese.
Really? That's it?
I just like extra. Hey, call it what you will. Everyone says extra cheese is the biggest scam in pizza making history, but I like my extra cheese.
I'll tell you what, we are going to need some kind of runoff vote. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we have got a 3-way tie right now in Driver of the Day. So heads up, if you're still watching over on YouTube, if you've not yet voted, now's the time to do it. I'd imagine most of you have. Somebody just come in here and break the tie. I don't know how we're going to do that. I guess what I can do is grab the broadcast link and share it in the League Discord really quick. That's actually a 3-way tie. We've had some 2-way ties, never a 3-way tie.
I've never seen a 3-way tie before. This is pretty insane.
All right, I just dropped the link in the League Discord. Hopefully somebody comes in and breaks the tie. Sam Dyer, Stephen Boardwell, Josh Parrott are all tied right now for Driver of the Day. So somebody come break this tie. But we'll talk about the schedule here for a second. Pocono's next up. It's another bracket race. I'm excited to see how these cars do at Pocono, actually. I know Johnny was maybe a little reserved about how they might race there, but I'm excited to see how they actually run at that racetrack if we have any shifting. When I took a couple of laps, I wasn't really trying. Admittedly, I was just trying to get screenshots, but I feel like you can shift in turn 1. I think it's going to be pretty fourth gear, though, in turn 2. Maybe if you're in a battle, old tires, maybe you downshift in turn 3. But frankly, I don't think we're going to see nearly as much shifting as we've come used to when we go to Pocono with other series.
And more than likely not. I think we'll see a lot of fourth gear racing at Pocono. I think that's where it's all mainly going to be. There's so much to take away from today, rolling into the next mile and a half as well. Like Vegas and Kentucky, for instance, all 4 of the last 4 races before the Chaser mile and a half tracks, but they're all such different characteristics. You have got Las Vegas and Kentucky, 2 totally different tracks, even though they're pretty much cookie cutter tracks, as NASCAR kind of embraced that a little bit in the early 2000s and ran with it for a little while. Then you've got Darlington, which is different at both ends of the racetrack. You've got the wide angles of turns 1 and 2 and the very, very tight angles of 3 and 4, and then you roll to Atlanta, and if I'm not mistaken, they are using the old layout. New Atlanta, okay, so you've got another drafting track up on the race, up on the schedule for these guys to take a couple laps at and show us a good race. And Atlanta usually has some interesting racing, but looking forward to seeing how these guys really take on the challenge. And it's going to be a good one. And looking at the driver of the day vote, we've got 25 votes in and still a 2-way tie between Sam Dyer and Josh Parent.
And here's what I'm going to do. Or tie or not, I think we're just going to go ahead. And I tell you what, if we have a 3-way tie, sometime later this week on social media, we'll redo a vote with reactions if we have a 3-way tie. But for right now, what I'm going to do, we're going to position just on these cameras. Zach, I want you to count me down, okay? Start at 5, down to 1. I've positioned my cursor over end pole. I'm not going to look. I'm going to let you decide when you'd like to do it. You decide when, just start counting down from 5 on down to 1.
Run that by me one more time. I gotta decide when to stop.
I'm gonna hit the button, but you're gonna tell me when. So on your count, you're gonna count down from 5 to 1.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop the button.
I hit the button. I don't know who's up. I got no clue. Okay, 2-way tie. We can handle that. We can do a 2-way tie. We've done that before. I was afraid of a 3-way tie. The vote very much leveled off. But if you're in YouTube chat, you can see it. But for those of you who are not looking at the chat, let's go ahead and reveal who just got that. It's going to be a joint result. You see one driver already. That's going to be the 22 of Josh Parent. He will take driver of the day honors alongside the 35, Sam Dyer. And I think Sam definitely was in the running there for a solid minute to take it on his own. Had a lot of positions gained, then got in that crash. And I go back to the recovery drive for Josh to stay in the race and basically never quit and just keep going. I like that. A big nod to driver number 22. But next up for us, Zach, here we go. This is what's coming up. A lot of late model stock racing. We haven't talked about this graphic at all yet, surprisingly, but this is what it looks like. Thursday, we have got Southern National Motorsports Park for the Sarah Impel Motorsports National Tour. The Thanksgiving Classic that happened last week, yeah, we're emulating that. We are taking late model stocks to Southern National for a really, really fun night of racing. That's always a blast anytime we take any car to Sonat. I'm excited to see how that goes. And then look at that, Zach. We've got the Myrtle Beach 300. This is promoted by Only Short Tracks. This is a really cool group that has kind of worked with Sarah a little bit, and they have decided to go ahead and host a race this coming week. So 2 really big late model stock races this week for us, leading into the Winter Derby at iRacing. We've got a lot going on, but for right now, this is what we have upcoming Thursday, Saturday, and then next Tuesday, of course, we run it back here at Pocono with the BRB Sundance Pro Series. And man, there is a lot of good racing here on the screen.
Yeah, there's so much good racing coming up, and I cannot wait to see what comes of this weekend. I'd love to see these late model stock cars in action. I will not be in attendance for Thursday, obviously, but I've been keeping up with Sarah. I love seeing all the racing that's going on. I may actually not even be in attendance for Tuesday next week at Pocono, as I will be getting on a plane to go to Indianapolis, but we're going to play that one by ear, because I get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to get to the airport, but I'm so excited for all the racing coming up. So many great places to follow along with Pit Stop TV. You can always check us out everywhere we go. pitstoptv.com, instagram.com/pitstoptv. Wait, no. Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, facebook.com/pitstoptv, tiktok.com/pitstoptv1, twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, youtube.com/pitstoptv1, and x.com/pitstoptv_. See, I remembered what they were, but I forgot the order that they went in.
That's okay. A big thank you to our partners with the series: Sundance Pizza, Ascendance Trucks, Idealese, KC Athletics, Rev Sim Shop, Performance Food Group, Whiplash SimCam, CC's Business, and MXWraps.com. A big special thank you to them as well for partnering for tonight's Meal Deal 250. A big thank you as well to our partners with the channel: Whiplash SimCams, ATVO, CC's Business, Cody, Williams Design, Lucky Performance, and the North American Racing League. We will see you all next week for Pocono, but until then, we hope you return for Thursday night's Sim Auto Racing Association Impel Motorsports National Tour Privateer Race Products Thanksgiving Classic. It's a lot of words. All you need to know is it's a bunch of great short track racing coming up this Thursday evening. Southern National, late model stocks. Make sure you tune in. We'll see you all in Lucama, North Carolina.